Namaskaram. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it's an exciting morning for IAA Kerala chapter and Kochi Center as we play host to this eclectic group of participants and guests from across the globe. We are truly overjoyed to heartily welcome you all to the iconic Monsoon Architecture Festival. Oh yes, let there be applauses. Let there be an open expression of enthusiasm. And we are also delighted to host our chief guests and guests of honor for the day, the proactive Honorable Mayor of Kochi Corporation, Advocate M. Anil Kumar. Hearty welcome to you, sir. We would also like to express our welcome in the form of this little flower there. Thank you. Our guest of honor is the zealous Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Haibi Eden. Gracious welcome to you as well. And of course, our own friend, philosopher, guide, architect L. Gopakumar, the chairman of IAA Kerala chapter. A word of welcome to you. And the proud host, the zestful chairman of IAA Cochin Center, architect Vijit Jagadish. It's such a joy to welcome you all to this occasion. Before we launch ourselves into the affairs of the day, let us begin on a solemn note as architect Iron Mini Saji renders a prayer. Let us all rise and invoke the blessings of the Almighty.
हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों की जय से पहले खुद को जय करे. हमको मन की शक्ति देना, भेदभाव अपने दिल से माफ कर सके, दूसरों से भूल हो तो माफ कर सके, झूठ से बचे रहे, सच कदम भरे, दूसरों की जय से पहले खुद को जय करे. हमको मन की शक्ति देना.
Thank you. That's a soulful rendering indeed. This sets the tone for the day. Before we begin, I'd like to take a couple of moments to set the prologue. The Monsoon Architecture Festival is a fitting finale to the Living Monsoon series, conceived to celebrate and deliberate on the nuances of architecture, urban design and planning, and in general appreciate the art, craft and culture of the tropical terrains, the monsoon climatic regions of the world. The unprecedented changes in the wake of the pandemic, the unparalleled forces of urbanization, and of course the uncertainties consequent to erratic climate patterns have all further reiterated the significance of this endeavor. As is popularly said, if given one day to carve, a fine craftsman would take the first half to sharpen his chisel. So that is precisely what we intend to do here, to sharpen our tools, to reinvent the ways through which we imagine spaces in a climate-conscious fashion. So in the 2 days to come, we hope to listen to some of the brightest minds, architects, professionals, academicians from around the world discuss climate-responsive actions and decisions that seem to be the need of the hour. The panel of illustrious speakers who will deliver the curated design talks include stalwarts and trailblazers like Professor Architect Robert Powell from Malaysia, Ms. Kalpana Ramesh from India, Architect Javier Munoz from Mexico, Architect Twiti Vajrabhaya from Thailand, Architect Chang Huan from Singapore, Architect Sami Padora from Mumbai, and Architect Hirante Velandove from Sri Lanka. So add to this, of course, the bestowing of Monsoon Architecture Awards, giving us a glimpse into some exceptional climate conscious projects, fascinating exhibitions at the Agora, the interactive discourses to be held at multiple venues, resourceful workshops, hand-picked sustainable ventures and cultural expressions. We have nothing short of a fiesta to look forward to. To put it rather poetically, we sincerely and earnestly hope that you get to experience and enjoy a steady drizzle of creative energy and also witness a heavy downpour of amazing ideas and insights that prove to be paradigm shifting. Here is once again extending a cordial welcome to all of you. We hope this turns into 2 productive, jolly days for all of you. Oh, that was pause for a cause. I really was hoping that there will be applauses. So we will now begin with an inaugural session. We have our esteemed chairman of the IAA Cochin Center, who helms the affairs of the center with remarkable ease and poise and continues to serve as a sustained source of strength to its members. May we welcome the diligent architect Vijit Jagadish to the lectern to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning and a warm welcome. We are shaped by the people who surround us. Our joys are more pleasurable when cherished by our dearest. Our success more enjoyable when applauded by those whose opinions we care about. Our protests less lonely, our sorrows less burdensome when goaded by fellow zealots. The feeling that is uppermost in my mind is the feeling of gratitude to each member of my team who has diligently worked to host each of you for this event. There is no vision, no path, no glory without a team. To stand amidst my community and to feel the reverberating support from each one here is the feeling of indescribable. The 2 days ahead of us is a hope, a vision in execution. Together we will try to discuss, share, process and project the issues which we set out to address. We have amongst us the most distinguished Mayor of Cochin Corporation, Advocate Sri Anil Kumar, our well-wisher and beloved Member of Parliament Sri Haibi Eden, illustrious and decorated speakers of the season, Monsoon Architecture Award winners, my counterparts, friends, supporters and well-wishers. On behalf of the Executive Committee of IAA Cochin Center, I welcome all to this season of Monsoon Architecture Festival 2023. A vision is rarely evident, for it has to be acted upon. It has to be sold hard. Monsoon regions around the globe are not merely a geographical expression. It embraces the extraordinary mixture of architecture, culture, craft, ethnic groups, languages, varieties in climate topography, natural resources, and religious practices. Tropical climates have changed in the past, with the most recent major being the several degree warming at the end of the last glacial period. Temperatures now have become higher than ever. Although climate change is nothing new, there are very good reasons for thinking that the changes predicted for the remainder of the 21st century will be a major problem for the tropical regions. Compared with the impacts on natural systems, both the detection of impacts of human societies and the attribution of these impacts to climate change are considerably more difficult. Urban societies face all the potential problems and additional threats from sea level rise, cyclones, when they are situated in low-level coastal areas. With the recent catastrophes of flooding and climate-induced changes, deliberation on common challenges and solution sharing had become of vital importance. It was felt that we as a community of architects and planners, we should think beyond the individual practices and start seeking solutions when it comes to constructing resilient buildings and surroundings that will put us on the path to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change. The Indian Institute of Architects Cochin Center conceived and hosted the first Living Monsoon Design Talk series in 2015. Design talks were conducted throughout the 2 years, which culminated in the Monsoon Architecture Festival 2017. The season 1 of the Living Monsoon did have a huge impact on the perception and approach of young practices. Living Monsoon Series 2 embarked on this journey in the year 2022 after a gap of 5 years with the intention to identify, deliberate, to stimulate partnerships with different stakeholders, that is, public agencies, local communities, academic and scientific institutions, and seek international partnering in harnessing their resources and strength for addressing these ever mutating and evolving issues. The idea was also to study the strong but invisible threads, sometimes elusive, adaptive architectural solutions and language that practices across the tropical regions have evolved and how they, in response, addressed these issues. Monsoon Architecture Festival is a platform for the Living Monsoon series to further its ambitions in addressing pertinent issues in a larger scale, to give wings to its dream and vision very real and pervasive. Monsoon Architecture Festival 2023 is an attempt to gather all the convergent influences of the monsoon regions to soak in the vibrancy and contradictions of all that is tropical. As I stand before this blockbuster audience to welcome each one of you who have come down, I see renewed hope and confidence and an undeterred focus on addressing the challenges posed by climate change in the monsoon regions of the world. I am convinced that it will serve as the seeds for future capable of addressing the many issues we set out to resolve. The Living Monsoon Design Talk series and Monsoon Architecture Festival are important platforms for sharing knowledge and ideas and for fostering partnerships between different stakeholders. It is clear that addressing these issues will require a collective effort and a shared vision for the future. I wish each of you all the best in your endeavors and hope that the festival will be a success in bringing out the convergent influences of the monsoon regions around the globe. I have a duty that my seat at IAA entrusts on me to create a platform from where we can discuss, deliberate and transmit is only possible because there is a parent organization like Indian Institute of Architects and we are in a noble profession called architecture. I take leeway and urge each of the young people present here to come under the ambit of IEA and contribute your bit to the profession of architecture. Each of you need to profess and practice for impact in social environment and to leverage our designs from being mere egocentric outcomes to one of architecture activism beneficial for the mass. Thank you all and wish you a remarkable and memorable event ahead. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your concise words, so welcome, and all for reasserting the need to foster collaborative and collective effort to address the ever-mutating and ever-evolving issues in the 21st century. Thank you again. And now it's time to listen to the address of the chief guest, who serves as the voice and conscience of the Kochi Corporation. It is such a joy to invite the Honorable Mayor of Cochin Corporation, Advocate M. Anil Kumar, for the chief guest's address. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I take this opportunity firstly to welcome all of you to this program because as the mayor, it is my duty to welcome each and everyone present here and all the speakers, all the noble speakers who have come across from different parts of the world itself and from places where the issue of climate change has been pertinent. I think it will be a great opportunity for everybody here, all the architects here, to have a good listening to what is the experiences worldwide. My respected Member of Parliament, Sri Haibi Eden, is also there. I feel that the Indian Institute of Architects has always been very closely working with the city. I still remember the installation ceremony of Vijit when I was present. And I think he has completed 1 year after that installation, 1 year, 2 years. 2 years. So you are as old as me because I have also completed 2 years. So all these periods has been very challenging and I feel that the Indian Institute of Architects has always been working very closely with the city. See, I miss today Jay Gopal, who is there as the expert committee member in the panel that has been helping us drafting the master plan. We already have a draft master plan. We'll have to finalize the master plan. Secondly, when the corporation office building is to be constructed, all the important inputs have been given by the Indian Institute of Architects. They have been there whenever the mayor has called them, they have come, they have given their valuable advices, their inputs whenever we need I saw the small video that was shown. I saw the Changambuda Park, which is very heart felt even to me, because I also have an identical problem, because Changambuda means to me, Changambuda and Edappalli is something of a question of identity also to me, because I belong to Edappalli. So we have this identical, whether you are from US, whether you are from Europe, whether you are from India, whether you are from a particular village, everyone has this identity problem. So I saw the Changambuda Park having renovated, the design which has totally renovated the Changambuda Park, and I made it a point to see that the Changambuda Park gets the fund from the smart city, because that particular project which was designed with the help of the Indian Institute of Architects is marvelous. Again, you have Ajit who is sitting here. He is not leaving me and the MPU. Many of you might have seen, because he is now after another project which is closed, which is again an identity problem for him. That is the SRV school, because he has studied there. Am I true? Yeah. So he has also helped us in actually reinventing a small place, a slum dwelling where ordinary people are living. He has designed it for us. We are trying our best to make that happen. So this is the kind of bonding that we and the Indian Institute of Architects have. The city of design of course has an element of intellectual property rights also embedded into it, but still we believe that Kochi can also aspire to be, even though we don't reach, even if we can't reach the city of design, I think we can aspire for becoming a good city of design. So even in that area, I believe that the Indian Institute of Architects and all the architects will be contributing. And the city is now facing the biggest challenge ever the city has faced in its history. And even there, the Indian Institute of Architects has been helping us. Even without a call from me, they have been helping. They have been taking the initiative. So that is the beauty of the bonding that we and the Indian Institute of Architects have between us. And Monsoon is something, I don't think that there needs no explanation. I'm very bad at making prepared speeches. That is the biggest demerit of me. So I saw Vijit reading out whatever he has made prepared, to what to say about that, because he has clearly explained what architecture is, what all can be explained about Monsoon. There is culture in it, there is climate warming, global climate changes that is in there, and your way of life, more than individual, preparation of design of plans for the buildings. It should have a social outlook. Everything is explained. So that is the interest for me as a political worker, as an ordinary person, because architecture has something to do with your way of life. So that is why I am always so interested in Jayagopal many times, because it has many things to do with your way of life also. So I believe that if the city has to in fact defeat all its challenges before it, if the monsoon is to be if the beauty of the monsoon is to be enjoyed tomorrow in Kochi, I believe that certain things have to be done. The whole way in which the buildings are designed has to change. Your whole outlook has to change, and this outlook has a very important message that can be conveyed by the architects, I believe. And I believe, and I firmly believe that this Monsoon Architects Festival is going to be the festival of Kochi also. So I'm thankful to the Indian Institute of Architecture for having convened this meeting. The only problem with all of us is that we can't spend our time sitting here. Otherwise, I would also have spent my time with you, even though I don't know anything about the intricacies of architecture. But I can enjoy at least the beauty of architecture and what is actually told here. And I think it will be important for policy makers like us also. So I don't want to steal any of your time more, because all the important speeches are to follow. And I believe that the MP, our Honorable Member of Parliament, is also going to make his own inputs into this whole session. So thank you for inviting me, because whenever you have held any conferences, me and Haibi has been there. I don't know what is the reason for that. Maybe because we have missed studying maybe architecture. I think you can understand what we have missed. So that's why you are calling both of us together always. So thank you once again. A warm welcome to all of you. I believe that it will be a very good, enjoyable experience, a refreshing experience, and it will be a meaningful and an in-depth session that is going to happen. So thank you. All the best to this wonderful festival. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Those are words straight from his heart. Thank you very much. There's also a gentle reminder of how the issues and concerns plaguing architecture remain embedded and ingrained in the identity of the people occupying the spaces, and also for reiterating the meaningful dialogue that exists between IIA Kerala and the city of Kochi. Thank you again. Like Sir said, let us aspire for greater heights. Thank you. And now it is time to invite the Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Haibi Eden, to the lectern, someone who stands in the forefront of developmental projects. Elated to have you here, sir. Welcome.
The president of today's function, the president of the India Architecture Association Cochin Center, my dear friend Sri Vijit Jagdish, the Honorable Mayor of Cochin, Advocate M. Anil Kumar, senior architects from across the globe, friends and family. It's a great honor and privilege for me to be here on this very auspicious gathering. Deliberations would happen on the Monsoon Architectural Festival. As the Honorable Mayor said, we are all people in different aspects, people who relate to many different issues related to the city as well as the lawmaking process in the country. So we have zero knowledge of what exactly is happening here today. But we are all very proud to say that we all belong to Cochin, which has a unique place in the architectural history of the country and the world. Friends from different parts of the globe have been assembled here. Kochi has its unique identity where if you take a small place like Mattancherry or Fort Cochin, we can see that in 16 square kilometer, we have 21 different communities living together in harmony. So the fabric, the cultural fabric, the heritage fabric, the history, all remains in a very tiny place. We have influence of the British, Dutch, Portuguese, etc. So the architecture also is quite unique in many different ways in Cochin. We have always had discussions. I would excuse people from Thrissur if you are here. We always have arguments, and even though myself and the Honorable Mayor are from two different political organizations, difference in ideological differences we have in many different perspectives. But we would be very clear on one thing, that Cochin should actually be the cultural capital of Kerala. That's why I said Thrissur, people kindly excuse me. So there was a time when knowledge was confined to just one person or a group of persons, and it's a time when we have the sources of knowledge and sources of information is so vast, and it is globally accessible with the help of internet and many other different sources. So this is a time of knowledge sharing, and I believe that this is a time where different perspectives have to be debated. The deliberations which are going to happen here are the best practices across the globe. Monsoon Architectural Festival, you have clearly explained, Vijit have explained what exactly this conference is meant to have. But I believe that as lawmakers in a participatory democratic system, I believe that lawmakers, people's representatives should closely work with different organizations like the Institute of Architecture as well. Because Monsoon is a time which is very special and close to our hearts. But there have been many instances where flooding, monsoons, the sea erosions have affected Cochin very badly. So we in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, according to the global climatic changes, there have been massive sea erosions in the coastal belts, especially Chellanam and Vaipin areas, where majority of the people are dependent on livelihood as fishing. Fishermen community as a more affected people in those areas. So whenever we think of new designs, new concepts, new technology, I believe that even though the green protocol or building council has approved the green technology as well, there have been times where we have to seriously think of Cochin as a city which is 1 meter below the sea level. How, with a perspective of maybe, with a vision of maybe next 50 years or 100 years, how we can handle the situation, how can we take this challenging situation to the next level? How can we make sure that our city is not flooded, our city or the common man is not affected by flooding or from the major global climatic changes? So, Architect Association has a major role to play. And whenever we make a law in the parliament or in the assembly, it is very important to have your perspective. Because as I said, we are people who have zero knowledge about architecture. So whenever you give your perspective, when a law is made, there have been many circumstances and instances where the particular team of people or the people who are actually affected, if it is the doctors community, engineers community, architects community, they as a whole, as a team, make our jobs easy to say that this is exactly what is meant in the bill which is going to be passed. And this is something which you can raise. This is something which would affect this particular community. This is something which would affect the conceptual facts of this community. So those are informations which, as members of the different segments, as lawmakers, we would be able to reflect your perspective when the law is made for this country. So I'm extremely honored to be here. As I said, this is a time when we have a lot of challenges, and this is a time where the Indian Architects Association have always been very kind enough to make sure our city is revived. And there are a lot of aspects where when it comes to budgetary housing and many other new technologies where our city badly needs, the Architect Association has been kind enough to cooperate with us, to give us fresh thoughts, and also been, they've always made sure that their social perspectiveness is expressed whenever there is a matter of concern or whenever there is a common project, as the mayor mentioned about Changambura Park or many other projects which has a unique place in all of our hearts. They've expressed and they've come formally, come personally and express their willingness to cooperate in those projects, many a times free of cost. So it's a great honor to be here again, and I believe that city is taking its leap in many different arenas. As we all know that the Kochi Water Metro was inaugurated day before yesterday. We had the Cochin Design Week couple of months back, and I believe that that Design Week would transform into something called a Design Festival in the coming years, and I'm pretty sure that you all would be there to support us in many different ways. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for emphasizing on how Kochi has a position of prominence with multiple communities coexisting in harmony with remarkable histories and heritage that dot this tiny space. Thank you again, sir. For stable growth, we require strong roots, and those strong roots are offered by IIA Kerala chapter. It is a pleasure to invite the veteran architect L. Gopakumar to favor this audience with an address. Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Worshipful Mayor of Cochin, Advocate Anil Kumar, our beloved Member of Parliament, Sri Haibi, the most dynamic Chairman of Cochin Center and man behind the MAF, Vijit Jagadish, and speakers from the same latitude across the globe where we celebrate Monsoon, and my fellow architects and friends. I would like to congratulate at the outset Cochin Center for taking up such a big project and organizing the second episode of Monsoon Architectural Festival in this magnitude, and the team behind the Monsoon Architectural Festival was working day in and day out for the last 1 or 2 months, and with their untiring effort, now today we have achieved to get that inaugurated, and the next 48 hours will definitely have the enlightenment of various speakers and architecture from the speakers. And Cochin Center has not only in organizing the events of international color and magnitude, but they are always in the forefront of with the common people whenever they are in need. When the flood came in, IEA Cochin Center was in the forefront not only to design the rehabilitation project, but also they have raised money and constructed a few houses. And it's a testimonial that our member of parliament and the mayor is here with us and associating with IEA Cochin Center, that because our foot is deeply firm to the ground, and we always work in tandem, shoulder to shoulder with the corporation, not where in the waste management plan, not only in waste management plan, but we have gifted to the people of Cochin, the IEA Cochin Center gifted to the people of Cochin two beautiful, iconic, which is the image of Cochin from Rainbow Bridge to Chinavala Bridge in the Marine Drive walkway is a gift by Cochin architects to the people of Cochin. Likewise, we have done the metro, 23 stations where interior was designed by IEA Cochin Center, and Vijit Jagadish was instrumental in handling that project. It just came out beautifully. And we have two more iconic buildings which is coming in Cochin, the north and south railway stations. And according to me, that the buildings are designed with a bad taste. The railway engineers and the Prime Minister's officers even are not happy with the design, and they have approached the IEA Cochin Center to evaluate the design and do some modifications so that at least it looks with the stature of Kochi is growing, and according to the Kochi stature, the building should look like. Otherwise, it will become an edifice of disgrace, not only for architects of Cochin, the people of Cochin, and people representatives of Cochin. So I would request our honorable member of parliament to intervene and use his influence in Indraprastha and allow us to do the social kind of design auditing of that two buildings, which is north and south railway station, where we can put our creative inputs and make it a better building. So, and we will be with all projects initiated by our corporation as well as the government. And finally, I want to congratulate Cochin Center once again for initiating this Monsoon Festival Architectural Season, Festival Season 2. And I wish all the very best, and next 48 hours will definitely give us the enlightenment for a better, brave future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your earnest words of appreciation. Architecture being a visual medium, in fact, people get to appreciate and perceive the contours of building only with the help of light. So what better way to inaugurate than by lighting the ceremonial lamp? I request our honorable chief guests, guests of honor, the chairman of IEA Kerala chapter, the chairman of IEA Kochi Center, all of you to please come up on stage once again to light the lamp and officially inaugurate the Monsoon Architecture Festival. Honorable Mayor, Advocate M. Anil Kumar, sir, please welcome. Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Haibi Eden, a word of welcome to you. Architect L. Gopakumar, the Chairman of IEA Kerala Chapter, Architect Vijit Jagadish, IEA Cochin Center, Chairman, Architect B.R. Ajit, Architect E.S. Gopakumar, our seasoned practitioners who have come down to extend their support. Light, of course, has spiritual underpinnings as well, as something that symbolizes the beginning of new direction in life, and we hope the festival proves to be precisely that. We begin. सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May there be peace, prosperity, good health and happiness unto all. We also have architect Lata joining us on stage. The lady and the gentleman here will mark a radiant beginning for the Monsoon Architecture Festival here. Even when we deal with cloudy skies, there needs to be a ray of sunshine. So here we are. Architect Tweety, if we could have you also up here on stage, that will be great. So here we are, the Monsoon Architecture Festival 2023 has been officially inaugurated, marking the close of the inaugural session and the commencement of the day as such. Thank you, the ladies and the gentlemen here on stage. Before we hop on to the technical sessions, this is a festival, this is a celebration. That means there must be music and dance. So we begin on an artistic note. We will have a performance titled Badal Jal Baris, which translates into sky that showers or a cloud that showers. It's a rhythmic performance that depicts the essence of the monsoon. Let's have Badal Jal Baris on stage, please.
Sama tipa mani pa sa ni sa बादल जल बरस रत बादल जल बरस रत मोती न समबूंद पड़त बादल जल बरस रत मोती न समबूंद पड़त बादल जल बरस रत चमकत द्रुति दामिनिया चमकत द्रुति दामिनिया अधियारी आमिनिया चलत पवन चलत पवन धीर गंभीर चलत पवन धीर गंभीर पवतडर नारी नर बादल जल बरस
Thank you. Thank you. Both the jubilation and the tribulation brought forth by the monsoons have been beautifully portrayed here through this dance. Thank you very much. While Badal Jal Baras depicted a beautiful journey, the Living Monsoon series has itself been a beautiful and accelerating journey. So to give a bird's eye view of the Living Monsoon 2 series and the Monsoon Architecture Festival 2023 with particular thrust on the theme that is undertaken for this season, I request architect Abhishek Xavier to come up on stage and take the lectern. Welcome.
Distinguished guests, delegates, colleagues and friends, good morning and a warm welcome to you all. 8 years ago, the Living Monsoon series was conceived on the proposition that an ecosystems-based approach to architecture and urbanism, as best practiced in monsoon regions around the world, would provide the basis for a paradigm shift in design practice. Subsequently, concepts and projects of well-known practitioners from the Copenhagen-based climatic zones, which is the tropical monsoon and tropical rainforest regions, were deliberated upon to form a curated body of work to inspire architectural practice. Further, Monsoon Architecture Awards were instituted in 2017 to identify and promote good practice examples that were sensitive to the climate, environment, and society of these zones. Past 6 years have been a period of unprecedented environmental challenges, both for Kerala and the Kochi city region, which lies entirely in this zone. Erratic monsoons, rising seas, unprecedented droughts, flash floods, cyclonic activity increasingly begged a review of what life in the monsoons now meant for our city region. These events, which were met with a spirit of resilience by our fellow citizens, sadly did not find a resonance in the city's built environment. The cloud of climate change had turned our life, architecture, and city inside out, requiring a revisit of the premise of living monsoon from the viewpoint of resilience. Caught between the sea and the rock, we in Kochi were well placed to ponder resilience beneath these foreboding clouds. The urbanization of Kochi's estuarine and coastal setting reflects the global trend of cities doubling in size the past 30 years. A 10% increase in impervious surfaces of an undeveloped river basin is said to lead to a 33% increase in annual flooding. Added to this is a projected 3.6 mm annual rise in sea levels. We trust that a resilient ecosystem-based strategy for built environment can help mitigate climate change. Such overarching challenges cannot be confronted within the scope of individual architectural projects, but requires deliberations at a sub-regional scale. However, the past 30 years in our city, since the devolution of powers to the urban local bodies, has been marked by a pause in planned urban interventions apart from special purpose undertakings. Prior to this, Kochi had prided itself on landmark urban developments which were enabled through innovative design and planning processes such as the town planning schemes. This lost start of urban transformations, of working with civic authorities and multiple stakeholders, is essential to creating a resilient monsoon city. Since now every millimeter counts, we hope our vision of resilience is not clouded. This cannot be realized from our architectural community alone. Living Monsoon 2 design talks paired architects with professionals from the fields of climate change, ecology, anthropology, etc., and was insightful in 3 ways. Firstly, the implications of climate change in monsoon regions and the technical directions needed to build a resilient city was made evident. Secondly, participatory and socially innovative approaches to rural and urban communities in transition were deliberated. Thirdly, an ecological framework for Kochi with water and the deltaic ecology as a main protagonist had the potential to form the canvas for cities' architectural projects and community spaces. The Monsoon Architecture Awards 2023 were conducted to identify and promote good practice examples that were resilient and sensitive to monsoon climatic regions. Project categories ranged from small single residential buildings to the complex public space. Eminent international practitioners from monsoon regions were invited to conduct the jury, setting the stage for a debate on what could constitute a repository of architectural solutions to sensitively build resilience both in our city and in monsoon regions. The Monsoon Architecture Festival is a culmination milestone of the sub-theme of resilience under the Living Monsoon 2 series. It is also a celebration of the architecture, urbanism, art, craft, and culture of these regions, It brings together practitioners in the fields of architecture and urbanism to deliberate on climate-responsive work in monsoon regions. I trust these deliberations will sharpen our vision and inspire us to meet the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for elaborating on the theme of the season and for noting how resilience is the watchword to go by. The Monsoon Architecture Awards were instituted to recognize and appreciate best projects, meritorious projects executed in the monsoon climatic regions of the world. In order to enumerate the award categories and introduce the jury, I'd like to invite on stage the meticulous mentor of Monsoon Architecture Awards 2023, architect Lata Raman Jay Gopal.
Hi, very good morning to you all. Happy and honored to be here amidst the best of design fraternity, not just from the center or the state, but all across the world in this monsoon regions, which binds us all together. As I think Vijit and Abhishek have already said, for sure, I think the Living Monsoon series has been the most eagerly awaited and most meticulously organized among the events of IIA Cochin Center. And I think we've already heard about the theme, etc. And while the Living Monsoon design talks have showcased the best of practices across the monsoon regions of the world, the Monsoon Architecture Awards have helped to bring together a wide array of projects in different categories, each in their own unique ways trying to respond to the challenges of climate, environment, the resilience aspects of the particular region that we are all living in. And I think it is this very uniqueness that brought even a rather irregular member of IIA to be excited and eager to participate in this Living Monsoon a little more with passion and be part of the Monsoon Architecture Awards in the season 2. Season 2, as we all know, that it was after a hiatus of almost 5 to 6 years, which saw where we in Kerala and saw among the worst of challenges, which kind of made us all conscious about the resilience that we need to have, the close links from the 2018 floods to the Nipah virus to the corona, which of course affected the whole world. How closely linked our own lives and our own habitats are to the environment around us, the flora and fauna around us, etc. So naturally, the theme of the second series was resilience. And when the Monsoon Architecture Festival dates were announced for April 28 and 29, we had to kickstart the process for the Monsoon Architecture Awards too. And frankly, it was too short a time, so we were actually working backwards. The first task, obviously, was to decide on the categories. So besides the earlier categories of single family residential, multi-family residential, leisure hospitality sector, institution, commercial sector, we decided to add a new category called public spaces, which we thought is very important, particularly when we talk about resilience. So there were 5 categories, and the next biggest challenge was to get the stellar jury that we wanted, because we were really looking at an international competition. So we were fortunate to have got 4 of the best architects in the monsoon regions, including architect Hirante Valindave, who is with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Architect Palinda Kanangara, who has been a friend of IIA, I think, since Living Monsoon first series. Architect Rafiq Azam, who from Bangladesh, who blew us all off our feet with his presentation a couple of months back, and architect Ahmad Tardiana, from the celebrated architect from Indonesia. So once that was in position, we had to get started. Of course, we had a bit of a slow start, but then by the time we closed the entries on on accepting entries. On April 4th, I think we had about 375 entries, which was overwhelming for all of us, of which we had almost 40% or more were international entries, which makes it a truly international competition. Very unique, because I think there's nothing like this anywhere, which just brings these different people together just because we are all in the climate zone and we all kind of face similar challenges. And then, of course, after the pre-screening, which a few of us did, just to kind of ensure that everything was complying by the design brief, etc., we were still left with 310 entries. And obviously, we knew that it was a daunting task for the jury to ask them to be here for 2 days and kind of sieve the best out of this. But it was amazing that the four of them actually sat together, and the end of the first day, they had long listed 74 entries from these 5 different categories. And the second day, they deliberated on 50, which were shortlisted, and picked up the winners. The whole process, I mean, I'm here just talking about this in front of you, but ultimately, the sheer hard work that has gone behind it was this young team from IIA Cochin Center under the able leadership of architect Vijit and architect Abhishek, who of course anchored the award part of it, and some exceptional work from architects Varsha, Gayatri, Ronson. I'm just saying a few names, but there are a whole lot of young talents who have worked sheer hard work and passion and commitment to this whole thing. So it's a joy and honor to be here to kind of share this with you all today. And of course, we will be, and I have to mention the brainstorming that we had with architect Bilay, JC, architect Ramchandran, who kind of helped kind of bring everything to focus. So we will be honoring the winners officially today. But more importantly, it's been an honor to have received so many entries from across the world, which is going to be a big learning experience, going to be a big, every single entry that had come was so unique and so special that we felt honored to have been compiling all these together. And one more aspect of it, once the everything was shortlisted, we have also brought together a compendium of the shortlisted entries, which has been very unique, because frankly, we never thought that we could pull it off. But again, architect Anjit and his team worked together over the last 15 days, I think, to kind of bring out this beautiful compendium. So it's my honor to invite architect Professor Robert Powell to officially release the compendium. And we are honored that in spite of your very busy schedules and your travel, you managed to kind of look through the book, and we'll be sharing a few words about it. So thank you all once again, and we look forward to continued patronage for the Living Monsoon series and the awards in the coming years, and let it kind of bring us more and more conscious about our responsibility to the environment, our responsibility to society, and how best we can respond to it. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. I was wondering if you could stay back. We will also launch the compendium that you had just mentioned. I'd like to invite Professor Architect Robert Powell, Architect Vijay Jagadish, Architect V.N. Ramachandran, and of course Architect Lata Raman Jai Gopal here to officially launch the compendium. The excitement in Lata ma'am's voice was palpable for the ingenious projects that we got to evaluate and assess. So we only thought it is right that we give these a structure by compiling all the shortlisted entries in the form of a publication titled Monsoon Architecture Awards 2023. The compendium be brought on stage, please. While we are dealing with the culture of buildings and structures, we thought we will give it a structure by putting it together, assembling the entries in the form of a compendium. Professor, if you could please do the honor of launching and unveiling. Thank you, sir. We hope this will prove to be a practical learning guide for many young talents to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to launch the compendium, albeit at very short notice. I received it only on Wednesday evening as I was traveling in Thailand. First, congratulations then to the diligent and hard-working award committee and the eminent jury who did a mammoth task of reviewing 375 entries and shortlisting 75, of which there are 8 commendations and 1 winner in 4 of the 5 categories. Your choice of a jury panel was vitally important to establish the credibility of the awards, and you assembled a highly respected panel. I know and admire the work of Palinda Kanangara, Rafiq Azam of Shatoto, Iranti Welandawi, and Urban Indonesia Architecture. So the quality of the shortlisted projects was assured. What delighted me most when I received the book on Wednesday is that I have met and published the work of 8 of the shortlisted architects, namely Godrich Samuel, Naren Pereira, Sanath Leonardi from Sri Lanka, Eddie Choi Camping and Kochi E from Malaysia, and Gregorius Yoladi with Maria Rosantina and Tantik Lam from Indonesia. And one of the commended architects is John Bulcock, who has lived and worked in Malaysia for more than 20 years, having worked for Balkrishna Vidoshi early in his career. It really is a remarkable publication. I was impressed by the scope and depth of the projects that were shortlisted, and I applaud those that have been selected to receive awards or who have been commended. The winner of Category A in the single-family residence is EPJ Residence by architect Roy Anthony. Highly commended is the Home Liberated by Niranjan CW and his colleagues. Now, I am particularly interested in dwellings built in the heart of the city, and the phrase accorded to the EPJ residence is it's an idea of a sanctuary facilitated by a journey through a series of spaces. It resonates for me. I remember walking through Geoffrey Bower's house in Colombo. It had exactly that feeling of a journey facilitated through a series of spaces. I'm particularly interested in how one builds a resilient residence on an urban site in the tropics. This is an area that becomes vital as countries such as Malaysia, where I live, becomes more urbanized. Also the challenge of building alongside existing structures. This is why I particularly warmed to the Liberated House, which was highly commended. I know another building, the Long Deck House, which was also shortlisted. It is the home of a Ceylonese Tamil lady living in Kuala Lumpur. It's an urban house around a courtyard, and I've celebrated Diwali there on 2 occasions. I also know the Concrete Jungle and the NJ House in Malaysia, which are also among the shortlisted. They show great originality, working with an existing typology. In the multiple family residential category, there are 2 commended projects, Disappearing Lands and Statesman Building. Both are very deserving of their commendation, for surely resilience is about recycling and restoration. In category C, Leisure Resorts and Hospitality, the winner is the Roundhouse at Hahangama by architect Narena Pereira. And highly commended is Devada Dining Space by architect Senthil Kumar Das. Both projects relate sensitively to their forested context. Again, the jury have recognized these special qualities. Evident in many of the resorts is a strong biophilic connection. One of the other shortlisted projects is the Kalandua Retreat at Dambulla by architect Sanath Leolaji. I stayed here one night with Geoffrey Bower's biographer, Professor David Robson, in 2015, when researching a book on Sri Lankan architecture. It is absolutely exquisite. Among the shortlisted projects in the category, now here's an interesting story, is the postcard, Mandala Hall, a boutique hotel in Synagogue Lane in the Jewish quarter of Kochi. I appreciated this so much that I immediately went out and booked a room to stay there on the 6th of May when my daughter joins me from London. I was so impressed by the pictures of that hotel and the story behind it. Category D, the winner is a micro-library in Semarang, Indonesia by architect Florian Heiselman. It's an elegant timber building with prefabricated components. And highly commended is a premier office in Ho Chi Minh City by Tropical Space. All these projects coming from different parts of the tropical, the monsoon area. And this employs the humble brick in an inventive manner. There's some remarkable architecture coming out of Vietnam at the moment. I'm writing a book on some of the work of Vo Trong Nghia, which is also very important. For many reasons, I'm also impressed by a story of rebirth and restoration in Kochi by architect Koshi P. Koshi. In category E, I'm excited by the richness of the ideas expressed in the submission, which gives hope for the future of the planet and its resilience. This book is vitally important. It's a brilliant book. As someone said to me earlier today, it knocked them out. It is a default manual for resilience in the Monsoon Asia. It's a pattern book. Congratulations then to all involved. And I commend the book to all the students of architecture and young architects seeking a path in the profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for declaring the winners and also for giving us a snippet view of the winning projects. Thank you again. Let me also add that the compendium that was just released, the copies of the publication are available for purchase at the IIA front desk, that is at the entrance to the Oman Hall. So we have a short break, after which we will begin the much awaited design talk. So in 10 minutes, I hope to see you all back after having a hot mug of coffee, ready and refreshed to listen to the design talk, first design talk for the day. So by 11:20, we hope we can begin the session. The refreshments have been arranged at the M4 2 hall. Enjoy and be back. Thank you. We hope you had a satisfying lunch. We hope it proved to be a treat to your palate with multiple flavors from the Kerala cuisine. And we believe we will also enrich the stage with some flavors of Indian dance. I think that will provide the apt segue into the technical sessions on architecture. So art will lead us to the discussions and deliberations on architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite our dancers on the dance floor one more time for an elegant dance number titled Pranavalaya.
प्रणवालय पाहि परिपालय परमेशी कमलालय श्रीदेवी कुरिपिंचवे करुणाम्बुरासी धीं तारा धीं धीं तारा जतुलतो
జాలి తెలిసి నగుమో మూగనలేని నా జాలి తెలిసి నను బ్రోవారాధా శ్రీ రఘువరని నగుమో. नगराज धरणीदु परिवारु लल्ला. नगराज धरणीदु परिवारु लल्ला. ओगी बोधन जैसे वारलुगारे इदुलुंडु दुरानी నగుమో మూగనలేని నా జాలి తెలిసి నగుమో మూగనలేని నా జాలి తెలిసి నను బ్రోవారాధా శ్రీ రఘువరని నగుమో.
That was the Dhwani Tarang dance troupe. The crew is led by Mr. Biju, who's a 2-time state award recipient for best choreographer. So no wonder we got to watch such fine performances on stage. So thank you. Talk about choreography. An event of this behemoth nature also requires a choreography of its own kind, getting all the elements in sync. In fact, our partners, our sponsors, play an integral role in making sure that this entire performance goes well. So it is time to listen to our gold sponsor, RAK. Please welcome Team RAK on stage for a brief presentation of 5 minutes or so on the products and services offered. RAK on stage.
Good afternoon all. I am Rupinder Singh and from Rack Ceramics. First of all, we have a small corporate AV. Please. Slide change. Yeah. So we have turnover of 7,000 crore, and we are present in 160 countries, and we are world fourth largest manufacturer of tiles and sanitary ware in the world. Asia's largest tile manufacturers we are. Supplied over 1 billion square meter tiles over the globe. 5 million pieces of sanitary ware sold worldwide last year. In total, we have 15 plants worldwide, 10 plants in UAE, 1 each in China, Sudan, Bangladesh, India, and Iran. Next. These are some international projects which we have completed. Wembley Stadium, London, Bonn Airport, Hermes Showroom, Siam Paragon. These are some major projects which we have done. Heathrow Airport, Mercedes showrooms, Olympic Village, Athens Olympics we did, Grand Hyatt, Washington DC, the Palm Hotels, Dubai, Hotel Intercontinental Paris. Next. These are our partners. Yeah, please. Next. These all are our prestigious clients. Next, please. This is our Samalkot plant, and we have plant of 210 acres. This is the India's first plant in which you can see tiles and sanitary ware facility both in a single roof. Next. We have manufacturing capacity of 30,000 square meter a day. 3,000 sanitary ware pieces per day production capacity we have. 800 we have our dealers by which you can take services from all over the India. Next. These are our some Indian projects which we have done, like a TCS Corporate Office, Mumbai, L&T Limited, Reliance, Infosys, Wipro, Oracle, Hyderabad International Airport we did, Microsoft Technologies, Kochi Airport, Delhi International Airport, Patna, Lucknow Airport, and Goa Airport. These are our prestigious clients. These are some of our Indian projects like Delhi International Airport, Chhatrapati Shivaji Airport, Mumbai, Infosys Bangalore, Oracle Hyderabad. What makes RAK different? We have our design and product innovation team, manufacturing quality we have very good. Some of raw materials we are importing, and we are using very good raw material. Firing temperature we have a capacity of 1210 degrees Celsius. See, in tile manufacturing, our 35% cost is comes on fuel, gas prices, and if you will see the local manufacturing plant, they have a capacity of 750 to 800 degrees Celsius. So we have 1200, more than 1200 degrees Celsius. In our plant, we are using SECMI machinery, complete automation के साथ हमारा plant है. And we have international product quality standards. We have ISO 9000. These are our, as per IS, water absorption should be less than 0.08%, whereas our is 0.02%. These are some slabs pictures. Now, some part of sanitary ware also. We have wall hungs, water closet, balls, containers for luxurious bathrooms, multi-specialty manufacturing plant at Samalkot. We have ISO and IS certification for sanitary ware also. Sanitary ware also we have a capacity of 1200 degrees, more than 1200 degrees Celsius. So we have these kind of wash basins also, left hand and right hand also. So this is rimless actually. So for better hygiene, this is more hygienic and easy to cleaning, water saving 4 to 4.5 years, and a very silent flushing system actually. These kind of urinals also we have. This is our klima tile which can reduce the temperature also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that very organized presentation. I have a parking related announcement. KL 63H6705. It's a Wagoner, Maruti Wagoner vehicle. Something seems to be off. The vehicle seems to be producing some noise. So I would urge the guest or the participant concerned to please urgently look into the matter. KL 63H 6705, KL 63H6705. The vehicle is demanding attention, so please do the needful. जिन खोजा तिन पाया गहरे पानी पेट, मैं बपूरा बोडन डरा रहा किनारे पेट. गहराई से डर कर अगर किनारे पर खड़े रह जाएंगे तो वही रह जाएंगे, ना रतन मिलेगा ना ही कुछ कीमती. These words of Kabir Das may be recalled now as we stand poised to invite and introduce the next speaker for the design talk, someone who has boldly and bravely plunged into the depths of knowledge, who has been brave enough to think different. So it's time to introduce the resource person for the session. May I invite architect Ajay Abe to please introduce our design talk speaker. May I also add, as is the format, we will have the design talk followed by a design narrative which will take place offline. Now architect Ajay, over to you.
Distinguished speakers, delegates, and my dear friends. Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be here today to introduce our speaker for this session. Our speaker is Tweety Vajrabhaya. She is one of the two principals of the Bangkok-based design studio, Department of Architecture Co. She received a Bachelor of Architecture with highest distinction, summa cum laude, from Virginia Tech and a Master of Architecture from Princeton University. Her works have won several international awards, including winner of Architecture A+ Awards USA, Blueprint Award UK, Best of Year Award from Interior Design Magazine, Architecture Master Prize USA, etc. Her company, Department of Architecture, is named Best Firm in Asia 2021 by Architecture A+ Firm Awards. Tweety is here for a reason. Tweety Vijayabhaya's design philosophy is rooted on the core belief in the importance of creating architecture that is contextually responsive and innovative. Tweety views architecture as a platform which people operate upon. Her studio is interested in finding new possibilities of architecture, not only in the physical space and form, but reaching beyond to design and redefine the platform that the physical form emerges from. The design process usually starts from the inquiries into the foundation of an existing situation, taking apart the existing conventional program of the building type, the existing usage of the space that we sometimes become too familiar with, and trying to see if there are other possibilities that we can make the place better or different. So again, Tweety's work has been a celebration of women's equal role in the realm of design. She sees equal opportunity. According to Tweety, she has not experienced any major obstacles being a woman in architecture in her country, Thailand. Vajrabhaya asserts that Thai men and women are equal in the architecture scene. The value of a person in workplace does not relate to gender. The person's work capability and what he or she can contribute to the workplace determine whether the individual is dispensable or indispensable. Tweety says, don't take briefs as Bible. Always go beyond the requirements and deliver the best solution. This philosophy is evident in her notable projects like Thailand Creative and Design Center. So, dear audience, it is my great pleasure to welcome Tweety Vajrabhaya to the stage to enlighten us with her creative intellect. Please join me in giving her a warm round of applause. I welcome PT.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, the Indian Institute of Architects Kochi Center, very much for having me here today to share some thoughts and some of our projects on this year topic, Resilience Next. Our work, me and my partner Amata Lupaibun and also the team have been creating. So upon first learning of this Monsoon Architecture Festival, I was immediately invigorated by its focus on tropical architecture across the multiple global regions. Typically, the world architectural landscape presented through media predominantly features construction from colder climate zones whose climatic context differs significantly from those in the tropics. A major factor in how architecture manifests itself, which is the climate, is one of the major factors. As such, when I was working in Thailand, it can feel somewhat isolated in striving to devise contemporary architectural resolution geared towards the tropical climate and also the climate change challenge that we face today. Thus, it is a great occasion for me to have a chance to be here today to see and hear from the fellow architects in the Monsoon region, sharing solutions and insights from which I have already learned a lot of knowledge from this event and looking forward to learn more in these 2 days events. It is also an honor to have a chance to share what we have been working on in Thailand in this festival too. So the first project that I will be showing is called the Commons Thong Law. The Commons is a small lifestyle development in which most tenants are food and beverage. Although it is a commercial project, the client came to us with an intention to create a community space, a place for the neighborhood, where people would want to come as often as they like, basically a common space for all. But if you know Bangkok, we lack public open-air spaces that work well with our tropical hot and humid climate. For quite a long while, we get used to living in an air-conditioned comfort space. We wanted to create a new kind of gathering space for Bangkok neighborhood, to carve this little new open-air communal space out of this dense urban mass and provide a space for different kind of living space, although through this commercial project. We flow people from the street upward and downward to the spaces in the buildings, and created these large steps as a main open-air communal space. The upper levels are connected with the lower ones through a series of large voids. Large fans are provided to help movements of the air, combined with the openness of the building without walls, for comfortable natural ventilation, which is quite enough even during the summer. The upper level acts as a large umbrella to the main communal space on the lower level, protecting the space from the sun and the rain. We designed the main open-air communal space flowing throughout as the backbone of this building. And we think this is a key aspect of the project that would make it successful. The backbone of the space is climbing upward and downward to provide various types of spaces for different activities. The approach from the front, the space and the visual connection flow through large void opening between the floor plates. The design provides a comfortable atmosphere for outdoor living. And on the below, we have some spaces, the air-conditioned space for some days that is really too hot, or some preference for various people. So it's a mix of open air and air-conditioned space inside the building, but most of the place are open air space. And the common space, which is the backbone of the open air living space, now becomes so many things where lives happen. Various events have been happening here. Sometimes the space become an open air market, or sometimes it become a jazz venue and art events, spaces for kids, etc. The space is not just a space now, it is a space for possibilities. It becomes alive and animated with people and the community. Sometimes after the success of the Commons Thonglaw, the client acquired another piece of land in the city center in the area called Saladang. The word Saladang means a red pavilion. So this is another project that we are working on, we have been working on. Around more than 100 years ago, this area, Saladang, was still a rice field and has a railway pass through. And the railway station here was a red pavilion that could be seen from afar. So people call this area Saladang. The design of the common Saladang reflected the story of the area, which featured a large red roof. In front of the site stood a sizable tree, which we consider a valuable asset. To preserve it and showcase the beauty of nature within the dense urban context, we designed the building layout to encompass and highlight the tree as the focal point. The trees also provide shade to the main space of the building. The common ground, the main space of the building being the common ground, which is a continuation of part 2 of the Commons Thonglaw. So the continuation of this lively space come through, so it will be also present in Common Saladang. Being an open air gathering space, the common space for Saladang, we have added some more details that allow even more flexibility for the space to be adaptable. We devised shipping pallets to be part of our new ground. They can be moved around to reconfigure the space as we wish, using simple details connecting them together with just the straps connector. Now we can configure and reconfigure the space, for example, to have a DJ booth here, a platform for small talks over there, or larger stage performance, and many other spatial configuration, whatever that we would like. The main open air space, which is the main gathering space here. And we allow some natural light into the space, so during the day, we do not need to use artificial light, but the amount of skylight is controlled not to be too much that the space become too hot, but enough that we don't need to use more energy for lighting. Gathering space. The shipping pallets here are arranged as seating over there. The walls are partially solid and partially see-through to both define the space and to connect the space at the same time. Light in the space, the roof. There are some air-conditioned space also to provide for people who prefer to be inside or for some really hot days. This interior lighting here is inspired by the hanging light in local markets, which they usually hang light bulbs like that. From the upper level, looking into the below space. So these are the two commons. The next project that I'm going to show is a small pavilion called The Flow. It is a multi-purpose pavilion for a community near the beach. The site is on this empty concrete platform next to the sea, just right in front of the sea. And the client does not give us any project brief. They wanted us to help propose a pavilion for a community that will be useful. And the rest is up to us. It's sort of like a dream project, like no brief. For this project, it is obvious to us that the key issue here are the fact that it is on the ocean view and that it is for the community, for the people. So our approach is to come up with the activities that will be great for people to use here. And we would like to make it to be a multi-purpose for multiple usage. The design sprang from this idea, and we started to explore the space of the floor plate that will allow for a variety of functions to happen here. So this is the initial study models. So we want to design a way that we fold the floor plates upward so that people can be able to be on the different level and looking out to the sea without blocking the view for each other. And the folding, different folding would give certain, sort of invite certain kind of posture, like the activities and people can create their own thinking, like what they want to do with this place. They can just come here and enjoy the view with different tier of floor plates, lying down, relaxing. Or they can come and to chat and do some recreation. And because of the floor plate is folded in tiers, folding upwards, so the community meeting can happen over here. Or there is, on that concrete floor, people come to play futsal, so they can use the top level to sit and look downward to see the game. Or kids can come doing homework. So there are some sort of table that we kind of folding out of these floor plates. Or people can come to do picnics, and that's a sort of more final study model of the folding floor plates. And this site is on the concrete platform, as you see, with blazing sun. So the architecture needs to become a shading device. And we look into nature for reference on an effective way of shading and cooling with a volume. And we see the tree, and we see volumes of small elements of leaves that the air can move through upward, but also can protect the sun. So I think it's different from the way we think of the roof normally. So we look into the nature as our reference. So rather than a normal roof, we now create the idea of the smaller elements on the roof that has different layers, and the top levels would give shading to the lower level, and then if the heat collecting on the ground level and building upward, they can dissipate through, and the roof itself does not block the heat to fly away or blown away with the wind. So this is the final design of it. And also the small, because we designed it so that it has smaller elements in the roof, so we think that, so in a way we can shift the angle of that element so that um, it can be, we can be able to allow some light to come through the space, and the part that maybe people stay more often can be more solid and more folding down. So we overlay the roof and design the overlay of the roof with the function below, so that you can see that in the front here is the entrance, so no one would be able to sit there. So we allow more lights into the space, and the around for the seating area is more, the element is more closed off to protect the sun. And this is the final outcome of the building. So we have this different angle of the little elements folding to allow different kind of light to come through the space, and the heat would be able to seep through the top of that, and the place can be allow for different activities. People can come and enjoy themselves, and even the angle of the floor plates actually it looks like arbitrary, but it is not, because they are, each angle was studied so that it gives a different posture for sitting or lying down. So the some angle is comfortable for lying down, some angle is comfortable for sitting upward, and we fold the part of the floor plates, and it at a time become the table, and we fold the other part to become the chair of that table, and you can have a meeting or whatever. And on the edge, as you can see, that you can see the game on the platform over there. That you can see the section sort of the folded floor plates. The arrival, so the floor plate folding the other way to the approach direction. Some details, and you can see that when you sit on the bench, if you are floating and you don't have anything to rest your foot, it's not comfortable. So we put the railing on the feet as well, so you can rest the feet there. So when you see the building on the other side, you see somebody's there. Some more tables. Even on the front edge of the building, we folding this down so that people can actually sit on the edge of the floor. The tables, the roof. So the next project that I'm going to show is called Sala Bang Pa In Resort. Sala Bang Pa In is a resort situated in a rural landscape, like for about an hour and a half from Bangkok. The site is surrounded by a river on one side and the canal on the other side, so sort of almost surrounded by the water, which is really nice. The location of the resort is quite actually unusual in that it is not in a travel spot or anything, unlike most of other hotels or resorts. It is located in the middle of nowhere in a way. The surrounding is quite rural with community settlement. So in this particular project, we think that the design approach is to think about how we can become part of this landscape, how the new architecture can be nested into the existing with harmony, yet in the same time should also be contemporary and unique. So the design approach in this project is about a contemporary reinterpretation of the local rural landscape and to connect the guest to the life of the river and its atmosphere. We have absorbed the sense of local craftsmanship into the spirit of the place. The design and materials are inspired by these wickerworks and various crafts and reinterpreted into the modern architecture and interior design and even furniture design. So in this project, we design both architecture, interior, and landscape. And even the interior design, we design almost all furniture ourselves. The brick, which is one of the dominating material in the area, is reintroduced to the project in a whitewash and sometimes being designed to almost seems weightless to contrast or differentiate from the old kind of brickwork construction. This is the lobby, and as you can see that the main part of the resort is sort of in an island. So we come here at the lobby and walk across our bridge to connect to the main space, the main resort space. The lobby and the bridge are read in the same way as the vernacular architecture in the area, which are colorful. You can see in that picture that the community next to our site are composed of many colors like red and blue and yellow and green, and so we want to be part of that. So we think that our building can be red. The architecture of the lobby is on stilts that were raised from the flat plane in the same way as the wisdom of the past is also utilized. So actually, that's the main lobby, which is open air and under the building, so it's open, all open, and it's actually sort of similar to the way we built in this area in the past. But it's not that we want to copy the past, but actually because the past has also the same experience with the flood as today. So it's actually answer to what the problem that is happening today too, the same as the past. The flood in this area is actually quite high. It's flood every year, so it's quite normal that it's flood because the middle part of Thailand is all rice fields. So rice is the plants that was like has to be with the flood. So we live with the flood. So some years it's flood like 1 meter, some year 2 meters, 3 meters in this area. So we designed it in a way that the lobby are all like the interior of the lobby are all small elements, furniture that can be carried up to the upper level. Even the check-in counter, which usually the hotel would have like a counter, right? But we make them smaller pieces so that you can actually bring them up. And even the electrical outlets actually are on the beam up there, and we connect the cord downward. So it's actually, we actually really works with what it is and the condition of the space there. And so coming across the bridge, coming into the main resort space, and you can see we try to keep this two existing large rain tree here, which is really nice. So we make it a focal point of outdoor living on this architecture in that area. We bring the use of the brickwork here, but using it in a way that subdue or whitewash it, and because we like the brick in a way that they have texture, a very nice texture. So in our design, we design it so that everywhere when we have the brick, we puncture the roof so that the light would highlight the texture of the wall and highlight the beauty of the texture of the brick themselves. The atmosphere of the craftsmanship inside. And the restaurant also it has been designed sort of to to have the roof similar to like typical Thai vernacular roof, but we changed the material into fabric, which we think that would it be hot using white fabric for the roof. So but it would give nice quality of light in the space. So we designed it so that we lift the roof up quite high, and the volume of the roof is quite high. The height to the top is like almost 10 meters. So that if any roof happens, if any heat happen, it will rise up and be in those upper volume. And actually, we designed so that there is no air gap in the roof, so that the air can leave the roof area. So it sort of giving the really nice lighting atmosphere, or the natural light, very soft and cozy and soft atmosphere inside without being hot. And it already passed summer, so it passed the test already. It's okay. And the space is overlooked into the river, and we have the outdoor terraces down in tiers, looking and connecting people to the river. And as you can see, actually that sort of white shelf made of bricks, as you can see, it's actually brick, but actually we make some magic so that it can float. It's sort of like floating brick, so that it's different shade, or giving a new meaning to the brick, that can it be feel light or not. The last project that I'm going to show here is the architecture library at Chulalongkorn University. This project is a renovation of this part of the building, of the existing building. So this project is an adaptive reuse, and mostly we do interior, but we touch on the skin of the building a little bit as well. The location of the library is right in the middle of the architecture school here, which we saw a great opportunity for the new library to become central to the life of the school, because we have this a special location, the existing building. Can we have a little bit of sound? This is our new design of the library. One of our major concerns that we wondered that in the near future, we will still read physical books or need physical space for libraries. How do people use library differently with the change of lifestyle and the presence of the internet, which has changed the way we access information and knowledge? The project explores new possibilities of how a library could become. Library today may continue to play an important role as learning space, but it may not be the same anymore. There is an urge to rethink what a learning space is, and in particular, what a learning space for an architecture school could become. To reactivate the library, the project has expanded the meaning of the architecture library to be more than a place for reading books, but to become a creative incubator for students of architecture. Various programs are integrated into the new library. They range from a co-working space, an exhibition space, a pin-up space, to an occasional lecture space where the library becomes a place for the exchange of ideas. And it includes not only the physical books as sources of knowledge and inspiration, but also include digital media, movies, exhibition space, etc. I'd like to talk about this project in more detail on the design approach, as it might show the complexity of its multi-dimensionality, and because the project is part of an architecture school, in a way it will become a case study. So we think that if it turns out to be good, it can be a good case study. But if it's turn out not good, so it's going to be a case study for bad things. So it was quite a pressure in designing this. It has to be able to answer every dimension of architectural concern, from design ideas to functionality, material, technical issues, everything. So this is my first sketch. It is not a physical space that I sketched, but I have sketched out all the aspects of concerns in designing this project. So as an architecture library, and we think that it should be a creative incubator, and I was thinking about what would make this place to be a creative incubator, what would inspire students, or how would we engage students into the space, and how do we create a place that people would want to come often and come in different occasions and come to do different things in this space, which is quite small. It's not big at all. So I'm gonna go through the design of the space. So that's the location of the library, which has multiple floors, like 3 floors. And actually, the front entrance of the school, of the architecture school, is from here. And as we can see the section, we can see that actually, because the location of the library can be is in the middle of the school. So I think it's possible to make it this place become a gathering space and a space that people can come and share ideas. But if we think about usual library, you can't do that, because every time you come into the library, you have to pass the secure gate, right? Protect the book to be stolen, right? So we think that we want to change that. So because we think that the new library is catered for information and knowledge and inspiration, which are not only in books. So we decided to move all the books on the upper level, so that's the 3rd floor there. From that 3rd floor up, the orange zoning, that up would be the books, would have the books. But the 1st floor of which is the 2nd floor of the building, the 2nd floor here, we decided not to have books, so it should be a library without books here. And then it becomes open up. It can be open all the time, and people can then now walk through. And because it's in the middle and it's the space that connect the front building to the back building, which the back building is like 11th floor building. So people has to be always walk past our library without books, without having to pass any secure gate or anything. So we decided that this floor should be a co-working space of the library, and it has the opportunity to become an exhibition space and a pin-up space, or people can come and present their work, their project, or have an informal talk here. Then the control point on the upper level. So also in the upper level, we think that we want to provide different kind of seatings. So we have like more co-working space, some casual reading space, more formal reading space, or even the place that we can have a little auditorium so that we can show movies or lecture or do anything, and also more very, very casual on the uppermost level. And we have the other space that is pretty disconnected from the main space of the library. So we decided that should be a private study. So we use the disadvantage of being disconnected to be an advantage of being a private zone. So these are the floors. For it start at the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, and mezzanine, and the quiet zone on the other side. We puncture through the existing floor, so we punch the floor and insert the vertical connection, insert the stairs to connect all the floors together. And we would like to surround the space with knowledge and inspiration. So basically, on the third and fourth floor, we surround the space with books, which is the main, to become the main sort of surface of the space. And on the second floor, where we don't have books, we have made a system, an exhibition system, so that it surround the exhibition can surround the space. And this is the exploded view, axonometric view of the place. So we'll go through each floor. The second level here, which is a co-working space with exhibition around it. We design, so when we think that we want to have an exhibition system, we design it so that in mind that we think that this place should be an experiment ground for the student of architecture as well. So this system that we design is sort of like a challenge for the student to come and think about what they want to do with this thing. But we have provide some elements already for them for easy use when they want to do quick exhibition. We have some hanging board, magnetic board, and we actually design the gridded system so that it has the gap between the levels, 2 centimeter gap, which is the same thickness as a normal plywood board. So you can put plywood board into any slots there, and you can place models on or anything 3D objects on there. So this that we have provided some of the system, but we want the student to think about what else they can do with it. So there's some magnetic board that they can come and you have the studio review here, and it's a open space where people can present their work, and students from other studio or other department walk by and they can come and join the conversation. And that's the slot. And we have this some boards that is already connect, and we also have the digital board so they can play things on the screen as well. And the space is flexible. The tables are quite large, but we have wheels on them, so they can rearrange to whatever they want to do, exhibition or whatever. So this is the final outcome of the place. The grid system is actually sort of like an empty thing that actually do not have any meaning if people don't come to interact with it. So it's an invitation for people to be creative with it. So it's become surrounding the main co-working space, and in the middle it's also, as you can see, the grid system also become the structure for the stairs that connect you to the upper level. The stairs inviting you to go upward. And we have large window looking out into the courtyard. And yeah, you can have a conversation, you can pin up and people can walk around, and people can come and stop by and participate. And we have provided systems so that they can showcase their work, which the student would come and think about how to design their exhibition as well. So they are inspiring people on their and present their work, and other people are inspired by the exhibition, and also by doing exhibition itself is a learning for the student as well. So many ways. So this is what this is the actual what actually happened after the library has opened. So the students come in and put their work up in different ways. We have even designed that hidden graded thing that you can pull out to make a table or anything. And also you can pull it all out and you can climb in to clean everywhere. So because that's probably one of the questions that you have to be able to maintain this place. And this, the students come in to arrange installation for events. This one is for the graduation day, so they arrange the scene for the graduated people to come and take photos. And I think it's an open invitation for them to do whatever. Who would think that they would do this? I haven't imagined that they were gonna put chair on the wall like that, but it's a place where they can do whatever that they want. This is adapted to be a party event or an opening events. On the third floor, coming up from that floor, also now we are in the book zone, so we surround people with bookshelves. So, and we know that the books, the architecture books always colorful, right? So we don't have to design the wall actually, because it will be nice in itself with the books, colorful books. But what we have done is that we particularly put the lighting so that it highlight that you have the books around it, highlight the books, and also we plan it so that some books can be facing outwards. Sort of like when you browse in the bookstore, right? When you, maybe sometimes you don't know what you want in the library, but when you walk past and something might get your attention and you want to grab it and read it in a way. So I'm trying to think about not trying to make the space is inviting for people to be curious, right? Not like you have to search for a call number and just go to wherever, but you can just browse through the space. So this become the wall of the space, and that's the new arrival wall. And this was the existing space that we have turned into the new space here. From the outside, looking into the library, and this check out the new arrival, and we thought about the books in architecture book, right? There are so many sizes and proportions, so we think that maybe we can play a little bit on that in a way that you can particularly custom made for each book. So we designed that block so that it can turn out whatever that you want to turn it out to receive the books that in the size and proportion that you want, and you can arrange the composition of it on the wall as you want. This is a study model of it. And then the grid system from the floor below puncture through all the spaces of the library into this floor as well. So it's not an exhibition anymore, but in this floor, because it's a book zone, we designed it to hold magazines. So it's whole new magazine. So it is also try to invite people to walk past and see just a book cover, and they might want to explore and learn more whatever in that there are in the magazines. And then we can continue upward to the next floor. The gridded system here, gridded system here also come up to receive the auditorium on the top level. So on the fourth floor, also surrounding by the books. Actually, this was the existing space where there was a mezzanine already and the fourth floor. So we designed the seating space, cascading down so that it can be a place that you can show, you can sit around or see movie or have some lecture. And the topmost is we put it on the with a mat, and people can just sit on the floor and lie down or sleep here or whatever. And the quiet zone is actually, we think about the usual chorale that the library has, right? So I think that's the way that we should have, right? But when I try to arrange it in the room, I still feel that the privacy, you still have not enough privacy because people will walk by you in the back of yourself. So I have rearranged it into sort of like a labyrinthian configuration so that now it's even less disturbance when you are in there. So it wasn't a storage room before, so we have put in this space, the chorale space with the labyrinth configuration here. And because the room is quite low, so we put a reflective material on the ceiling. And you can also see the plan of the labyrinth there, over there too. And the exterior, we make it so that it can become because this event space on this courtyard, so we have made it so that it's become the background of that. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, may I request you to stay back, ma'am, Architect Tweety? I would request you to again be back to accept a little memento from our end. If you could please step back on stage, we'll be grateful. And I request Architect Sebastian Jose to come up on stage and present a memento as a thank you to Architect Tweety. That was truly a comprehensive presentation from the multipurpose platform overlooking the ocean to the Salabank Pine Resort to the ways in which the learning space has been reimagined, the architectural library at the Chulalongkorn University. Thank you for painstakingly putting up this presentation. And here is a little something from our end. We have a miniature boat as a memorabilia for you. Thank you. And let me remind you, Architect Tweety will be waiting for you at the Agora. So keep the conversations going. If you have questions or clarifications, you may meet Madam in person and take part in the design narratives that will take parallel to the session that is to follow here. And we are all set to now make the announcement of the next batch of awards, Monsoon Architecture Awards for shortlisted entries in category B, Multiple Family Residential. Let's take a look at the finalists, the shortlisted entries on the screen for you, category B. Great. So those were some fine projects that we received and that we have shortlisted. Once again, shall we have Architect Lata Raman Jayagopal and Architect Vijit Jagadish to please officially announce the results in this category. Architect Lata and Architect Vijit Jagadish. Once again, shall we have you appear on stage? Welcome.
Good afternoon. So we announced the winners for category B, which is a multiple family residential. The jury had decided that there was no winner in this category, but there are two projects which have got commendation. One is Disappearing Lands in Bangladesh from architect Jalal Ahmed. Congratulations. And the second project with a commendation is The Statesman from Bangladesh, again from Studio Morphogenesis. Congratulations. Unfortunately, both the winners are not here with us today, but the citations and the awards will be handed over to them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So cheers to the winners as in those who have received the commendations. Well, they too win back $750 cash prize and a certificate. So there can be applauses even if they are not around here to receive them. So kudos to them. Congratulations. We will yet again have a brief presentation from a gold sponsor, Tostem. Here is welcoming Tostem on stage.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, team. So, myself Razi KK, ASM Kerala for Tostem Windows. Rather than just explaining what is Tostem, I'll just have a short presentation why Tostem. So, moving forward, Tostem is actually a Japanese brand. Okay, Japanese brand. Some of you might be knowing Lixil is the parent company for Tostem Windows. The material is aluminum, and we are the market leaders in Japan. And we have the world's largest window factory in Thailand, from where we are getting the windows from to India. And the basic USP of Tostem Windows is system window concept that none of the companies in India is using. So that is basically whatever windows we are supplying to the client, that comes directly factory fresh. It is pre-engineered window as per the site requirement. We are sending it for production in our Thailand facility, and it is directly coming to your site. 90% of the work is already done at the factory, and just 10% is that is the assembly part is happening at the site. So, and we follow window in a box format. The frame part of the window comes in one box, and the sash part, the moving part, comes in a separate box. So it is very easy to transport, it is easy to stack, and very easy to install too. So as you know, Japan is also having a tropical climate. They are also having the same issues like dust, the noise part, and the weather also. So all these, to resist all these, we have a protection for all these performances based on for all to resist all these issues. So, and we use EPDM gasket in all our cross joints, which gives us the better sound insulation. That is minimum 25 decibel sound insulation is there in all our windows. And the finish what we are having, it is not powder coated windows. It is anodized finish with a patented technology of Tostem, that is TexGuard, which gives 40 years of life cycle. And if there are any dust or even usually the windows are installed after, the painting is happening after the window installation. So mostly at the sides, the paint is spill over the windows. So just to clear it out, if it is a powder coated window, there might be a fading happening if you are using thinner to clean it. But in anodized finish, there won't be any color changes. And in our climate too, with very high temperature, there are no color variations happening for the windows. And we are having a 6 color right now. So, and the Tostem is easy to operate even by a young child. That means that all the rollers, everything locks are designed as per the load of the window. Whatever glass we are choosing, as per the load of the glass and the panels, the roller is determined, so that will be very smooth to operate. And the door frame is submerged to remove risk of fall by tripping. All our windows, even in the openable doors or the sliding doors, can be flushed into the floor, so that there are no threshold over the floor. And safety and noise benefit is better with laminate than double glass. So instead of spending too much on the DGU glass, with the sound insulation what we are having, we can go with a laminated, so that you get the security purpose and the sound insulation. So the insect screen for Tostem windows, sliding windows, or the openable windows, we have an integrated channel for that. We don't need a separate track, so that the window becomes very bulky. So it is having an integrated track for insect screen as shown in the photo. And no gaps, window is closed. Water drain has caps, airtight plugs are used, which means that whatever you're seeing in the photo, that is a non-return valve in which the water or the air, which is the rain happening outside, which won't enter the house and does not pollute it. And we have a airtight plug which none of the window factories are using. That is, even when the window panels are moving, there will be a gap between the windows panels at the top. So we are using an airtight plug at the top which conceals it. And Japanese products, as you know, is known for their strong design and reliable performance. They follow lean manufacturing, and Tostem offers better mix for comfort, life, and value. Customers will appreciate because we are having almost 10,000 plus patented technologies. And the assembly part and the installation part, as I told you, the 90% of work is already done at the factory, and just the 10% remaining, that is just the fastening part, which is also aligned for the profiles coming from the factory. And right now we are at 500 jobs in progress. And the warranty part, it is directly issued by the parent company Lixil. And compared to UPVC is basically a European product, in which is mostly a better product in the European countries. For they are acclaimed for their sound insulation and heat reduction. And coming to the aluminum part, it is very sleek compared to the UPVC sections. And aluminum has higher strengths, much preferred for bigger windows and high rise. It is basically used as per the current designs. We can go up to a height of 5.2 meter height sliding. So, and these are our product ranges. For Tostem, the windows comes in V70, V+, the Grand series, which is our premium series, and 8 is a new series which we have launched in our 100 years anniversary. And we have interior doors coming up with a hanging and partition door. And we have an entrance steel door, that is Giesta, which comes with 70 patterns, 7 designs, and 10 colors. And we have exterior products too, aluminum fencing, sliding gates, and car ports. And we have a glazing, that is the curtain wall system. So these are our total system, what we are providing from Tostem windows. So these are our bifold or slide and fold folding doors, what we are having, starting from 4 panels, we have up to 16 panels, which can go up to 12 meter wide. And this is Grand's, one of our ultra premium series, what we are having, which can go up to a 5.2 meter height sliding with just 35 mm sight line. And it can also provide flat sill, which means that there won't be any track. Even if you are flushing the track, there won't be any groove on that. It will be flat as a profile. So this is our curtain wall system, easy. And this is our Giesta doors, steel doors it is. Steel panels, inside there is a EPF foam which gives it wooden feeling when we are knocking it. And there are a wide variety of safety features too. These are our projects in Thailand right now. And this is our current project in Mumbai. So that's it from me. Thank you. And thank you IIA Cochin for giving us this opportunity. And we have, along with our channel partner, Square Deal, we have set up our stall downstairs. Please do visit and share your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that succinct presentation. And with this, time to have a quick break. This is going to be a you aaye kind of a break. Just in 10 minutes, we hope we'll get to see you all back. By 4:10, 4:15 maximum, we hope we can resume the next part of the session. So let's have a refreshing break. Thank you. Encouragement for the speaker here on stage. We have some animated interactions going on there. This is definitely an opportunity to build some industry connections and get into networking, but maybe after the formal session closes, you have enough time to mingle and get to know your counterparts and friends who've joined this evening. So this is my urge to all of you to walk in and occupy the seats. I believe we are almost ready. Shall we resume? We'll resume. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin with a presentation from our platinum sponsor, Team PK. Shall we have the representative from PK brand on stage, please?
Hi, good evening all. Krishna here representing PK in-store, Kochi and Chokli. Next, we have the section 2 Experience the Showroom, the largest style and sanitary experience center in South India. Rich in world-class products and facilities to experience it, PK in-store, Kochi and the entire showroom could not be included in this video due to time constraints. So each of you has been specially invited by the management to the showroom, and you should definitely visit at least once. Your visit will be worthy. Thank you. Once again, welcome you all to the PK in-store virtual showroom experience. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is my first experience. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope this will be a first of many best experiences to come. Let's now have the video on PK on screen, please.
It was a humble beginning in 1999. PK Tile Center started at Edapalli. In 2005, another milestone started, new showroom at Talasheri, Kannur. In 2011, the PK Tile Center at Edapalli renovated aesthetically and in tune with customers' taste. In 2012, PK Home Center started at Chokli. In 2021, we launched a new and very innovative concept, that is PK In-Store. The first showroom of PK In-Store was opened in Chokli that year itself. Today, PK In-Store Chokli is the South India's largest experience center with innovative vision and rare diversity. It is literally a happening place with live demos and vibrant activities. It has been designed magnificently to suit the perspectives and requirements of the customers and functions ultimately to fulfill market needs. In 2023, our Edapalli PK Tile Center transformed into PK In-Store as a center of ultimate authenticity and variety. It is the most sought-after store in the region with matchless facilities and premier choice for tiles and sanitary wares. Renowned brands from all over the world have been showcased in the store.
Italy, a country that wears its heart on its sleeve, rich in culture, history and sublime architecture that has always delivered excellence. Curated from Italy, we bring you some of the finest bathroom fixtures and sanitary ware. Presenting Italy on Canvas by Involgia. Our offerings, standing out in distinctiveness, are here to revolutionize the way you design bathrooms. Involgia consists of 5 brands, each its own competition in representing the rich Italian legacy and finesse. Radamonte, a vision brought to life by Stefano Marchion. Radamonte revels in its exclusive use of 316 stainless steel in production. Cato, inspired by the post-industrial style, Cato's gear-like design is a tribute to the steampunk era. Dorin, handcrafted, and handles made of Murano glass. Dorin is a quintessential design inspired by Venetian art. Jeddah, a journey started 20 years ago in Porsche. Jeddah boasts many award-winning ranges founded by Stefano Macchion. Thibaut, defined by its minimal style and industrial chic. Thibaut is a winner of many accolades. Kochi, a winner of the Archie Products Design Awards 2019. Kochi is inspired by the charm of the lofts of New York. Scarabeo, founded in 1974, Civita Castellana, Scarabeo is known for shaping ceramic and turning it into wash basins and WCs with a unique style. Cristina, backed by a rich legacy of over 60 years, Cristina Rubinetteri leaves its mark when it comes to combining style with substance. Italy Series. The Italy series offers an impeccable brass body with its gently austere lines in several finishes and the knobs in numerous marble and stone essences. East Side, a series inspired by a 1970s New York loft. East Side is the winner of the 2020 Archie Products Design Awards. Yalos. Yalos is the fruit of a 700-year-old artistic glassmaking tradition. Combining color with innovative lines makes it possible to admire the fleeting and hanging reflections of light and unrepeatable object. It also creates the most immediate experience of connecting your own personality with each design object offered. We at Involgia are driven to deliver the best. We have meticulously curated bath brands to help you design the bathroom atmosphere that reflects your unique vision for the space.
Involgia ha capito e compreso le potenzialità e le caratteristiche del nostro marchio e delle nostre aziende. Credo che faremo un grande lavoro, potremo sviluppare percorsi interessanti e saper cogliere tutte le atmosfere e le conoscenze che il mercato indiano ci potrà dare.
Tradition, sophistication, innovation and much more offered to you on a canvas by Involgia.
Thank you. It was a striking video on PK. Today, the world is often likened to a treadmill. So the only way to stay relevant is to be up and moving, is to keep pace with the onslaught of changes. We believe the design talks from experts will help address that gap, will fill in the gap in knowledge by letting us have a peek into the slice of learning that these resource persons have had to enjoy. So now Design Talk 3 will take place on stage. In order to introduce and invite the speaker, may we have on stage architect Xenia Vandrewala, please.
Good evening, everyone. Our last speaker for today is Sameer Padora, the founder and principal architect of Mumbai-based studio SP+A. Sameer completed his undergrad studies in Mumbai, followed by PG studies at Harvard University. He is also the director of SPARE, a research initiative looking at issues of urbanization and architecture in India. The studio has evolved over the years into 4 distinct formats: practice, research, collaboration, and collectives. His practice embodies a plethora of ideas through works such as Jetavan, Maya Somaya Library. His research projects include the exhibition and book titled In the Name of Housing, which is the documentation and analysis of historic housing types within the city of Mumbai. His recent publication, Decoding Mumbai, documents the development of Mumbai's housing fabric through the evolution of building bylaws. Through collaborative practice with URBS and JJ, College of Architecture, the studio has also documented homegrown settlements and worked with the know-how of local contractors. Sameep is one of the founding members of Bandra Collective an organization of architects involved with the design of public spaces in Mumbai. These four facets of practice, research, collaborations, and collectives are not siloed, but are shaped to constantly feed into each other. With that, I introduce and welcome Sameer Padora to the stage.
So the title of my talk today is Consequence of Practice. After having been in practice for about 17, 18 years, one kind of thinks about how over this period of time, you've done some work, you've learned a lot, so you now have answers to questions that you would have had when you started practice. But what I feel is that over these years, I only have more questions and very few answers. So what I'm going to do today is really talk about how these questions come about. They obviously come about as a consequence of practice. And what they also do is they kind of provide small clues of how the practice can move forward, or a project or an idea can evolve. That's the kind of overall frame of what I'm going to do. However, the way that I'm going to structure this presentation is actually a kind of reverse chronology. I'm going to start off looking at the newest project, and then go back down to the first one of the first ones that we've done. And while I'm doing this, there are some projects that I'm not kind of touching on, but what these projects are kind of going to do is always raise questions that we've been thinking about in the practice, and also ways that we've, in some sense, negotiated these questions. The first question that really kind of, and I think it's also kind of symptomatic of the time that we live in, is how do you do more with less? How do you address the various complexities of programs, requirements of clients, material ecologies, and yet minimize the amount of resource that you would put into a project. In this small project that we've done in rural Maharashtra, about 6 hours from Mumbai, there is a small laboratory that we've actually kind of built. The laboratory is built within a 100-year-old agrarian shed, which was used for storage, which was built out of stone, and then there were parts that were added in brick. So it's really a kind of mishmash of various materials, but it's kind of 100 years old, and it was basically a kind of shed with a sloping roof. The sloping roof and the shed were very dark inside. There wasn't much natural light because its essential goal was to kind of store grain. And what we were trying to do when we were doing this adaptive reuse project was to see if we can actually, the only resource that we actually build with would be light. So what we did was we punctuated the roof of the shed in many ways to create this kind of environment that is skylit, creates these kind of working spaces all within this, within one of these sheds that are, is there a way for me to kind of point, or is the pointer on this? Yeah, so what you see here is, I'm also just going to go off to the side a little bit. So these are a series of those sheds that actually sat within the compound, and this was the first one that we did an adaptive reuse project for, where the lab is kind of installed. What you see in this image is the actual old stone masonry wall within which we punctuated openings that were needed for programs. This is the main entry into the project. There is again a kind of big basalt stone wall, and part of which had lost its old roof, where we added this little kind of canopy to at the in the corten steel that allows you to kind of demarcate an entry into the project. And then there are the roof that had kind of collapsed. We kind of put it back together. The old trusses were then kind of also interlaced with split bamboo to create this kind of shaded entry foyer. This is an image now within the shed, and you can see how the old structure of the shed still stays intact with the kind of column and the beam formats that existed. But what we've done is we've kind of punctuated that roof with the skylight here, and then this entire courtyard then really becomes the kind of binding space for all the labs that sit along the edge. The labs themselves are also similarly skylit, so you can see various dimensions of that skylight, and the way that The puff panel, which was a kind of requirement because it's a lab, came from the client, and the way that the puff panel kind of reacts and bounces the light off. So there is a distinct kind of difference in the way that the heavy material of the existing shed contrasts with the light that comes in bouncing off the puff panels, as you can see in these images. So the second question that's also kind of I think in some sense still engages us is the idea of Indianness, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of us who are in the audience here today also ask ourselves when we practice, is this a project that I can classify within a kind of regional context? Of course, this is also coming from A.K. Ramanujan's famous essay on called Is There an Indian Way of Thinking, where he argues for the fact that in Indian cultural history, in mythology, even truth is subjective. 300 Ramayanas, for instance, being one kind of dimension of that. So in such a context where truth itself can be subjective, how do you propose a monolithic entity to define what is an Indian way? And I think in that sense, the idea of cultural history and its evolution was something that we were kind of interested in this project that we've done, where there are student hostels in Kota, which is in northern India, a very dry area, as you might already know. But there is an incredibly rich tradition of building in these parts. You build with stone, the post-lintel system, the fact that these jalis, these kind of grills kind of cool down air as it enters inside the house. The fact that there is a courtyard, that's a great kind of climatic device to allow for natural ventilation to happen within the building. And the fact that when you're also kind of looking at the final output of that urban Haveli, you're also tracing in some sense through Shikha Jain's beautiful drawings of how that typology evolves from a rural house in Rajasthan to a kind of urban Haveli project and a complex of those, as you see in these diagrams. So this was really what we were trying to kind of refer to kind of understand the fact that the city also exists not just at the level of a plan, but also at the level of the section, where there are multiple terraces that look down to each other, where the city operates through dynamics between these various levels as well. And what you see, however, despite that entire kind of richness, what is built today as the kind of modern housing in Kota is exactly this kind of fabric, right? Edge-to-edge walls, so you can see the minimum amount of ventilation in this, and yet there are rooms that run the length of that entire space that are very badly lit and ventilated. I'm sure a lot of you already know, but Kota is also a place that gets migrant students coming in, about 2 lakh students a year who come in here to study for the entrance exams to get into the IIT. So they are sitting here for 2 years studying all the time, right? And the success rate here of students getting into these wonderful institutions like the IITs is very low. What also happens is, living in these kind of oppressive conditions, the suicide rates of students who don't qualify are also quite high. And we were kind of grappling with all of this when we were designing these hostels. And what we were trying to do was trying to see if we can, when we imagine the Haveli, or we imagine these hostels, can we imagine them as an extension of the typology of the Haveli, where, as you can see in this kind of flattened perspective drawing, the center courtyard extends all the way through the building. There are various terraces that allow students to come out, interact with each other. So there is a sense of community that's formed because the architecture enables that to happen. What you see now here is a kind of diagram that shows how the form of the building kind of evolved, how we actually looked at the infill that we would be doing within that entire streetscape, and how that infill can be subtracted to allow for that courtyard to form and for the planning of the blocks to actually happen around that courtyard. In the next image, what you see is also how the section of the project kind of plays out, and how where there are these kind of various levels and terraces that are formed constantly within the project for people to kind of sit out in, and the fact that the courtyard really becomes this giant kind of climatic device with a sunken courtyard for the dining area as well. So these are just plans of various floors, and you can see how those plans actually kind of manifest into the project that in some sense occupies the edge-to-edge condition that the plot allows for, but at the same time creates this kind of void that allows you to also kind of experience the interior condition of that courtyard. Allows for cross ventilation, of course, but what it does is, and you can kind of compare it to the block right next to it, is that it opens up the interior to the street. So while the project is really an architectural project, but this gesture allows you to also communicate the kind of spatial extension of the street into the courtyard and then into the ground beyond. These are just some more images of that. The color is a little off, but you get a sense of the project. And what we were kind of doing here also is to kind of investigate the ability for the section to kind of manifest, like I've said earlier, where you can see people kind of at various levels, so you'll always have eye contact with someone, where there is a conversation that's possible with people at various levels. This is a kind of visual of one of the terraces. This is one of the rooms with the kind of north light kind of built into the profile of the building. And you can now compare that to the fabric that it sits in, the kind of imperviousness of these blocks as opposed to kind of porosity of what we've just kind of built. The third question that we were also very keen on is to understand how do we impact the ground that we build on, and how light can our touch be. In this little dining pavilion that we've done in Mumbai as an extension to a engineering college, which is really a kind of cafeteria building, what you see here is an earlier building, engineering college, that we had done, and that's the cafeteria that we've added. We've kind of taken cues from various lines of the light shelf that extend as a pavilion roof. But while we're also kind of doing that, we are also imagining that this entire construct weaves between existing trees and is designed as so lightly that tomorrow if we need to dismantle this, because it's a temporary structure, that can be done as well. What you see is really how this simple kind of sectional detail of the column, of the cantilever that supports the bench that students sit on, the light fixture that's also built into the column, and the roof structure and the purlins actually suspend this kind of translucent roof above the project. So in some sense, this detail really is what the project is all about. And you can see some images of that detail. You can see how that pavilion roof actually floats between these existing trees, and all you actually have is a plinth that connects you to the surrounding buildings. And how the kind of bench also becomes a kind of threshold, but a kind of a very loose threshold to allow for people to kind of move between the landscape and the building. And also, because of the fact that the roof is translucent, you can also see shadows of the foliage at, in particular parts. The next question that I'm kind of presenting is about craft, and this is something that in India we can constantly deal with. The idea that craft is museumified in many instances, where, for instance, there are kind of notions where we expect that a craft to be kind of replicated in the way that a mason built a stone wall 200 years ago should be the same way that he builds or his children build today. And we kind of frame that as the idea of craft. But I really think that's also a way of kind of colonizing craft, and it doesn't allow craft to evolve. And why should someone build in a particular way just because his grandfather did that? And with the availability of new tools, new ways to articulate the same material, you can actually push the efficiency of a particular material to way more than what was possible earlier. And I'm going to show this one project called Sienna. It's a little building that we've done in Hyderabad, where the client came to us after he had got a footprint of that building kind of approved by the municipality. As Hyderabad, as a lot of you might also know, it kind of works with form-based code, so it defines a volume, and then you can do whatever you want within that kind of volume, depending on the width of the road. So there is no FSI in that sense. That is a kind of impediment. So we replanned the entire footprint. We made cross ventilation happen through the way the layouts were structured. While we were doing that, what we were also kind of thinking about is what happens to the building skin. And is there a way for the building skin to be more than just an edge between the inside and the outside? Is there a way for the building skin to modulate itself to become load bearing, to take the load of stone chhajjas, that sunbreakers that actually sit above the windows, and then the window becomes a kind of bay window that sits within the void that's created? Of course, to build this, we use technology. We use Rhino to make these various corbelling details possible, to kind of understand how that structural transfer happens. And that's really a kind of a diagram of that roof of that wall module, and you can see the bay window cantilevering into the void. But to build something that seemingly looks as complex as this does, what we were doing was also designing tools that allow the mason to build the corbel exactly the way that we wanted it to. So it's a question of building simple tools and not something that needs a robotic arm, because the robotic arm, in some sense, is able to also distance the craftsman from the history of his craft, whereas a simpler tool like this would allow for that extension of the craft to actually happen. These are just some images of the first of those blocks going up. And here you can actually see the final completed project. You can see how the corbel actually works and how that frames the bay window that sits inside that void of the wall. So, and while obviously this project is about the exuberance of the building skin and the way that it kind of undulates and corbels and takes load, but for me, it's as much about the design of the tool as much as it is about the design of the building itself. Another question, when you're building as an architect, you're consuming resources. That goes without saying. So nothing that you build, whatever LEED and other such rating systems will say, is carbon neutral or carbon negative. There will be a question of how do you respond to these various. Sorry, is that coming from my mic? Oh, that's music, right? Yeah, that's okay. So in this project, which is a small factory that we've done outside of Mumbai, we were kind of working with this site, which is a corner site. And in the factory, we wanted to create floor plates that were naturally lit. So you can see that there is a courtyard in the middle. But what was also interesting is that on our site, we actually had a low-lying area that would fill up during the monsoons. And that was primarily, in some sense, a kind of variable condition that responded to the climatic changes of within the year. And it was something that we wanted to keep. So we actually removed that part of the building at the bottom there to allow for that water body to exist. And that's really the kind of diagram of the project. What you see here are just the plans, and you can see how the entire footprint of the building on ground is missing, and there's a kind of void there that is left for that variable water condition to happen, and there is a kind of bridge that leads you over into the building. That's just a more detailed plan. That's the upper floor, which actually cantilevers over the lower void. That's a section that explains that same condition, and this is what you actually kind of see. So that's the building. What you can see here is the bridge that takes you into the factory, and that's the void at the bottom that allows for water to kind of fluctuate depending on the season that you're in. These are just some images of the water body during the summer, where the water that's staying there is very little. And that's actually and you can't see this too well, but it's completely filled up with water during the monsoons, as you can see here in this image. Just some more images of how since it's a corner site, how it kind of frames the landscape back, and that entire void is designed as a kund for people to sit in and have lunch as well. So that's when there is no water in that pond, that becomes a social space for people. And it's a part of a larger warehousing complex, and you can see the contrast in how opaque these buildings are as opposed to the kind of openness because of our corner site and the way that the building is kind of adjusted to allow for that view to extend. This is another question that is particularly relevant given the times that we live in. The fact that when we design a building, the more public the nature of the building will be, the more it is open to appropriation by various interest groups, stakeholders, to frame a particular political narrative. And to kind of explain what I mean, I'm going to show this one project that we've done, which is a temple. It's in South India, in a place called Nandyal, in Andhra Pradesh. It's supposed to be a reference to a Balaji temple. It is a Balaji temple, so it's planning, and it's a kind of drawing, flattened perspective drawing that we do for most of our projects. This is the Balaji shrine. This is the Varaha Swami shrine. That's the priest's quarters here. That is the Pushkarni pond where all the deities are washed, and that's the entrance into the main project. So that's really just trying to kind of explain the nature of the temple. But the logic of this association of the Temple of Steps really with water was something that we were working with, primarily because if you look at any of the old temple complexes in India, there is a kund that is always tied to the architecture of the building. And what we were trying to do was trying to see if we can go back to that association of the kund, the water tank or the ghat and the building, and to see if there is a way we can actually kind of unite that idea into a singular kind of expression, which is the architecture of the temple. This is just a model of an early version of that project. This is the kind of plan where you see the entry into the main shrine, the access, the priest's quarters, the subordinate shrine here, and then the Pushkarni pond. The interesting bit was that when we kind of were given the site, we found that there was on our site, this entire part was low-lying around our plot, and we asked the clients to take that as a part of our site and to let us articulate that as a water body, which would allow us to harvest water that was coming out of the clients' factories where they were cutting limestone. So you were using all that wastewater, putting it back within this kund and recharging groundwater. The point we were also trying to make here was the fact that entire cropping patterns have changed because groundwater tables have dropped. In this area, yes, but also throughout the country, you kind of see that this is a common narrative. And the idea of being able to overlay any kind of program with another program that would augment not just the program itself, but also the context that it sits in was something that I think is particularly important for us to look at as we go forward. That when we design a project, it's not about just the project, but it's also about where and where we're kind of building the context. So what you see here is now a section of how the Temple of Steps kind of originates from this idea of the harvested water body, and how those steps that lead into the water body turn into the steps that become the temple precinct itself. These are just some more images. You can see the context with that big kind of factory there, and that's where the quarries are, from where we get all the water that's being kind of wasted or that's used during the quarrying process. And whatever excess water that goes into this and is still left over is then kind of directed into the fields for the farmers to use. Just some more images. And this comes back to about this notion of politics, and really the fact that once this project was done, it was built, it was published, very widely published. On my Twitter feed, I actually had some comments on the project that said, this is not a Hindu temple. This is these architects study abroad and come back and then build something that they've seen somewhere else in the world, and and this is a violation of the idea of the Hindu temple. And I was a little kind of upset about it. Until the next day, I read another tweet and another series of tweets actually that talked about how, despite me being educated so well, going abroad, coming back, after all of that education, I still come back and have now become a temple builder, forwarding the Hindutva project. So one gets kind of stuck from both sides in that sense. But I also feel that at this point, it becomes important for us to also start being conscious of the fact that there is a politics that's involved in anything that we build that is of a public nature, and it is really up to us to kind of either frame that conversation or be able to also articulate in a way that directs your understanding of the project differently. You can see also the way that we've tried to kind of build seating so that people who come to that temple precinct are also kind of sitting on those steps, those grass steps that actually also buffer the inside from the weather that's pretty harsh at most times. It's built out of solid limestone block that's also available in this area. And that's the kind of relationship of the water and the temple. And that's the skylight that brings natural light into the main body of the temple. The other thing that we've also been questioning is the mandate of the architect, right? We are trained with particular skills. We are taught that we'll have a client come to us for a project, but that also in some sense limits the nature of our involvement. And for this idea to kind of also seep in, one's questioning whether the traditional model of architecture practice is the way to kind of address this complexity of contexts that we work on when we work in India. And the fact that it's not just the kind of geographic diversity, it's also the kind of the things that we see in our cities, the kind of contradictions of living high-rise and slum, and the adjacencies that we have to adjust to. And if architecture or architects are able to kind of at least think about these conditions, if not enact them. And this is not something that's new. If you look at the trajectory of the architect, and the guy in the blue suit throughout that timeline is the architect, you can see that our mandate as on the left-hand side as country builders, it was in a time of exuberance, nation building, really kind of deflates to a point where post 91 we are really little more than service providers. And to then think that post liberalization, it's been 35 years, and we should have by now been able to kind of adjust to the myriad possibilities that one has to practice in particular ways. And to kind of exemplify that, I'm just showing you a graph from an installation that we did at the Seoul Biennale in 2019, where we talked about various kinds of practices operating in India that look at this idea of the collective model of practice, and the way that they are looking at practice not just being commission-based, but also being participatory. One of these models of practice that we call collective practice is a group of 6 practices that I'm a part of in Mumbai called the Bandra Collective, that works with local municipality through aegis of advocacy with citizen groups, in this case to kind of resist the idea of the coastal road that was being built in Mumbai, and to also bring into the public imagination of how the relationship of the city would change with the water once the coastal road was built. The idea of a kind of reactive urbanism at the time of COVID, when the lockdowns were opening, what we were doing was also trying to imagine public spaces, social distancing, to look at ways to create sanitation infrastructure for these open street markets, including, like I said, social distancing in spaces that were really tight and congested. These are some of the first kind of experiments that were being lined out. Some of this was built and it worked for the limited time that it did. The fact that while we are also kind of talking about reactive placemaking, there's also a case to be made for the idea of placemaking through the aegis of design. In the case of this competition that the Bandra Collective did and won, we were looking at how we could imagine this new public green space while we were asked to design just the peripheries, the footpaths and the road section of a new road in Vikhroli. What we actually did was we put in a green corridor all the way from the MRTS stop right till Powai to allow people to walk from one end to the other, and while doing that, creating this 1.8 kilometer long garden in the middle of the road. These are again kind of mock-ups of what the BMC did to test out our kind of proposal and to see its kind of possibility. So what you see here in the middle would be that kind of green space that would run for 1.8 kilometers. The other interesting part that we were also kind of looking at is working with resident groups to create new kinds of programming. So in the case of the Carter Road Promenade along the seafront in Bombay, which was stuck for about 2 years with no work happening despite the construction having begun, the Bandra Collective volunteered to play a curatorial role, working with resident groups, working with the councillor, with the contractor, to create new spaces and to also kind of oversee the construction. This included creating new paving patterns, creating a new public park for people to use, exercise stations, and many times what happens is we are not really doing cutting edge design in these projects, but what we are trying to do is create enough catalyst, or we try to create enough, let's say, a kind of change in the way that programming is thought of to create bigger change in the way that users would access these spaces. So we actually also designed a skate park to put into the promenade, which was resisted massively by the local resident groups, saying that no, it would be misused because it's a kind of depression in the ground, so people might use it for drinking alcohol in public spaces, so on and so forth. But to the point where today, it's actually become an epicenter for skating. So kids come as far as from New Bombay to come and do skating in Bandra at the skate park. And it's become an incredibly vibrant space that's completely changed the nature of that public space. Coming to the next question is how, a lot of us as architects are building beyond the urban in areas that are peri-urban, that are rural, doing, second homes sometimes. But there's also massive amount of community work that's being done. And one of these projects that we actually did was this Maya Somaya library in Kopargaon, which is this idea that a children's library should engage children physically as well. And what would engage kids more than a kind of berm, whether of grass or mud, and could we design an architecture that is a landscape? And to do this, we actually looked at the entire kind of set of knowledge networks that's available to us. We actually used a 16th century construction technique from Spain. We used details from 1960s that the Este had innovated in Uruguay. We used Rhino World, which was a cutting edge software from the ETH in Zurich, and to finally build with local material in Maharashtra and India. What we were also questioning through this mechanism is the nature of the regional and how much of that is actually stuck within a kind of stylistic box. And the fact that that our imagination of the regional need not be in contradiction to the global, but the global knowledge networks that we sit in can actually enrich the regional in ways that one might not traditionally think. And you can see the site plan here. On the right-hand corner is where the library was supposed to be, this kind of pavilion that you could walk through or walk over in this case. It's a very simple plan. It's got courtyards on 4 sides that allows people to get natural light inside. These are just some sections of that. And it's a there are 3 layers of clay tiles that actually provide the shell for it. These are the initial mock-ups. This is the construction process. As you all might know, that the most expensive part of doing any kind of curved structure is to actually build the formwork, because that's typically wasted. Here, what we did was we used reinforcement bar to get the basic form, and then actually put the first layer of tile, and once it's solidified, we took off the reinforcement bar from the bottom, which the contractor then used to cast a concrete slab in another project. So there was zero wastage, and what we are able to then do with this is build this space that's actually 125 feet long, 25 feet wide, and just 4.5 inches thick, completely in compression. And it's, of course, accessible. People can walk over it. And that's the interior. What's also interesting about the interior is that this entire kind of glazing detail that we actually had was styrated so that the sections that we get are thinner compared to what you would get if you used a straight glass in a curved profile on plan. Also, the top bit is mesh, so it allows for cross ventilation to happen. These are not air-conditioned spaces. They're completely naturally ventilated, and yet the temperature inside is about 4 to 5 degrees lower because of the way that these meshes allow for hot air to escape. All of the fans are kind of built in. They're Parliament fans that are built into the library racks as well. And you can see how these spaces are kind of structured with the roof really becoming a kind of marker for that entire experience of space there inside. Another question, another interest, another contradiction in some sense is that as architects and as we kind of work within our disciplines, we are supposed to know, what has to be done. And what I've found is that the one thing that's consistent in one's kind of process is doubt, and the fact that anything that we can design necessarily is embroidered in doubt to a point where our iterative processes are trying to kind of resolve that issue of doubt. In this project, J1, which is another project that we've done close to where the library is at, we were designing this community center in the middle of this grove of trees where we wanted to keep every single tree on site intact. We wanted to cut a single tree. We were trying to kind of design it initially in a way that the trees became a part of the architecture of the project. And this is for the Buddhist community. So we were trying to kind of reference the idea of the Buddhist kind of chaitya and the vihara, and to see if we can bring that kind of thinking into the formal planning. And there were many, many iterations that we did of this scheme. The client approved it. They were all very happy with it. We developed various iterations for it as we went further. And yet, when we were actually looking at this and we marked this out on site, we found that the trees didn't play a central role in the experience when you were inside the structure. And it was at this point that we were wondering as to, how should we kind of correct this, and we went into this little kind of courtyard to have lunch, and we noticed how the roof of the courtyard actually opened up just a little bit to allow you to see the foliage of the trees outside. Even though this was unintentional, it became a means for us to structure the project, and we completely rethought the way that the project was structured to allow for one to be able to experience the foliage outside even though you might be inside the structure. And that really is the plan of the project. It's got a little kind of admin block. It's got a skill development hall. It's got a meditation hall. It's got 3 dormitories, and there are 2 courtyards that is structured around. We worked extensively with the local community. We brought in Hunarshala, who train craftsmen in traditional ways of building, but yet worked with us to kind of innovate construction material. We wanted to initially use rammed earth to build with, but found that the earth needed too much cement to stabilize. We then created an entire material along with Hunarshala, which used stone dust from a local stone quarry, cement slag that came out of the factory nearby, and then repurposed wood from old ships to create the roof of the structure. And this is a kind of comparative between those 2 materials. You can see here how that ramming process is happening. The first few walls that go up inside, different mixes leading to different kind of configurations, the kind of changes that we were making. That's a typical section of the roof and the wall, and how that's structured. That's the diagram that shows you the stone dust walls, 2 brick piers on which a concrete beam gutter rests, and where the roof actually sits over the central gutter and then kind of on the structure there. And this is a process of the articulation of the wood from those old ships, and how it's detailed, how it's put into the roof, how the underside of the roof really becomes a kind of insulation scheme. It's an entire set of mud rolls that were manufactured on site and installed to allow for temperatures inside to be as less as 6 to 7 degrees during the summers when the temperature goes up to 50 degrees. And the repurposed roof tiles that actually sit on top to create the entire space. The floors made out of a traditional system of dung and cement. It's so that the villagers who do this particular process can do this 2 or 3 times a year, also generating income from the maintenance of this site. And these are some images of the final project. You can see the stone dust walls. You can see the roof, the underside of the insulation mud rolls, and the kind of tactility that the project has, and the gutter of the roof that takes away the water to kind of harvest. Just quickly running you through some of these images to a point where this in some sense goes back to what we had in the beginning, right? We started with this idea of being inside the project, but yet being able to connect with the foliage outside. And that's what I think we achieved in the project itself. So the outside space really becomes a community space where people come together, and this is the second courtyard, and how the project, even though it has a very strict geometry, is still articulated it to allow for existing trees to survive. How much time do I have? Sorry. Yeah, okay. The next question that I have also is something that concerns us as architects, that the role of the architect in the kind of making the city, and how marginal we are to that imagination, especially in Bombay, where prices of real estate are so high that architecture is really just real estate. And to find that the price that you pay for living in a city like Mumbai really brings you, has literally no value. So to kind of talk about this, I'm also talking about, in some sense, how we see our cities as being operating between these binaries of the formal, which is development control regulations, city plans, and creating certain kinds of fabrics, and the other part of the binary being the informal, which is typified by drawings like this from our kind of documentations, and the fact that there is a way to kind of describe this, whether it's Sennett calling it the open city, or Rahul's kinetic city, or Suketu Mehta talking about maximum city. The fact that there's a kind of ephemerality that creates emergent structures of organization that are particular to the densities that are available to cities like Bombay, which produces the 6 Sigma rated Dabbawala format, where tiffin boxes are delivered for people's houses across the city without making a single mistake, or where there are certain economic clusters that are emergent, where jewelers sit in certain parts of Kalba Devi, like an entire cluster theory that was only to be formalized many, many years later. The way for us to kind of articulate our position in this has been through research, and to kind of talk about that a little bit. The first bit of our research was a book that we did called How to Build an Indian House. It looked at housing types of Mumbai in history, and how those might be instructive in the way that we can imagine the future of housing in Mumbai and other cities like Mumbai for the future. And the second part of our research, which is called Decoding Mumbai, which has just come out, it was released last week. The book is available on Amazon. It basically uses 18 case studies to figure the story of Mumbai told through the lens of building codes, how building codes evolved over time, and what is the kind of fabric that they've created. So that's the second book, like I mentioned, and it really talks about this question of housing, and the fact that even though there is this massive push to build affordable housing in our city, what you're actually kind of building on ground is this, warehouses that host people, 20-story buildings with just 10 feet distance between them. And the first project, like I said, we were trying to see, is there a way that we could do social housing sensitively? And we kind of studied these 6 types of projects, and looked at how we compared each of these across metrics. So while there are wonderful narratives embedded in this kind of housing through the history of Mumbai, what we were primarily concerned was about the kind of the metric that each of these projects prescribe to: social space, quantifying FSI, ground coverage, so on and so forth. What we found was that there were clear dependencies that came out from that research that talked about what affordable housing needs, how affordable housing is also about networks, and the way that the city interacts with the housing, not just through its access, but also through the kind of economic networks. In this incredible project in Kalba Devi, there is this entire housing block sits on a wholesale cloth market at the bottom, and as typical mixed-use projects go, the city here does not stop at the plot. It actually extends through internal streets all the way through. So if I want to go from this part of the city to that, I can shortcut through the building. This is roughly 3/4 the size of a Manhattan city block, so it's a massive building. And what you can see here is what that entire building looks like from the outside, but as you go in, you can start experiencing those double height streets that allow people to move through. The city extends through the building. And above, there are courtyards that have housing that those traders who work below could live in. The idea of worker housing also then brings together this idea of the chawl, and how the chawl, which is worker housing in the history of Mumbai, was the epicenter of so many developments: the Ganesh festival, the freedom struggle, and how these communities aggregated because of the nature of the architecture. With that central courtyard with corridors on both sides and units opening directly into the corridor, became in some sense a common living room for the entire building. We interviewed a lady who lived on the 4th floor of this walk-up, who had arthritis, had another apartment where there was a lift, and who said that I still prefer living here, because if today I have a problem, I can call out to anybody from any flat and they'd come to kind of help me. So this idea of community is integral to the idea of affordable housing. And the fact that there is a particular architectural ratio that creates that sense of community. Also the idea of extending or extending the household over time, and in this what you see is a kind of, again, a worker housing project, initially a worker housing project which now hosts families. The entire building has been added to, so that the entire facade of the building is actually another project, adding rooms to what used to be just a single room tenement to allow for a kitchen and a bathroom to be added to the building. And that's done extremely sophisticated, in a very sophisticated manner, and you can see see the construction drawings for that. And the fact that those two red blocks that you see added to this building are actually a kitchen and a bathroom that extend that house into a program that is needed of today's time. So even this initial worker housing idea of the chawl has now hybridized completely into something that's different. And the fact that it's not just about these large ideas of structuring affordable housing, but it's also down to the smallest detail, where a ladder that would typically be a stair is designed so that it can collapse completely against the wall to allow people to move through a corridor space, or then to to access the upper mezzanine room. And yet, despite all this intelligence, in a survey that was done in 2018, Doctors for You, an NGO, found that there was 1 in 10 people living in rehabilitation colonies built by the state that suffered from respiratory diseases, pointing out specifically to the architecture as being the root cause of that, because of the fact that there was no light and ventilation. And what we were trying to do then was trying to see where this comes from, because if you think that this is a result of people violating bylaws, it's actually exactly the reverse. This is what the bylaws allow you to build when you're building social housing in Mumbai. And we wanted to go back and see where this all starts from. So our second book really just traces this evolution of the first phase of Mumbai's bylaws that talk about health and sanitation as a means to create a city that is livable for all kinds of residents, not just the rich, but the poor as well. And this was done by building breezeways across the city, creating regulations that specified light angles between buildings to allow for lights to allow for ventilation and light to come into these various projects. To a point where post-independence social housing becomes a big kind of push with the socialist leanings of our government. You see that the state takes on a lot of the mandate to create housing. It also puts out rules where excess lands are taken up by the state to provide social housing for its citizens, where for the first time in the third phase, you start looking at FSI being introduced. FSI being a kind of way to negotiate the amount of development on a site, which typically meant that any plot that had a ground plus 2 building was consuming just 1/3 of the footprint of the site would be building with 1 FSI. That became a means to add more floors. So the citizens petitioned the government to allow them to build more floors. So the government said, yes, you can build 1 more, which creates 1.33 as FSI, which meant that the entire city then had to follow that one mandate. Even new greenfield construction was building to 1.33. So there was no logic besides that to the evolution of the kind of development intensity that was introduced in Bombay. And this is all kind of there in books and things that we've forgotten, that the first bylaws start off being about creating better living conditions to a point where those same bylaws in today's time create miserable living conditions. Here you can actually see in a tower that the parking of the tower sits here. The podium of the tower actually is where the green space for that particular building is. And then the livable quarters for the 4-bedroom, 6-bedroom apartments kind of goes up from there. This here, that goes only to the level of the parking, is actually the social housing component, the SRA, the slum rehabilitation component. So these guys are looking directly into that parking tower, and these guys were the ones who originally lived on the site and who were rehabilitated within this. To give you a sense of that imagination, this is the podium where that the rich, the 6-bedroom apartment tower has as green space. And this is the SRA, that social housing component that sits almost like a hole in the ground going southwards. It creates ludicrous conditions like this, where a building that has all of these are parking areas. So there are about 10 floors of parking for 6 stories of habitation. Yeah. So the reason why this happens is because the developer gets more money the higher he builds. So it's in his interest to take this parking as high as possible, because every floor he builds above that gets more and more money with better views and so on and so forth. And the fact that all of this kind of complexity creates a very interesting condition in the city of Mumbai, where the entire city in some sense is about redevelopment. There is no development project, it's all redevelopment. And Mumbai is kind of thought to have one of the lowest FSIs in the world, 3.5, 4 FSI is what you're allowed. But if you look at the way that the regulations of the FSI is framed, there are many exemptions that are given to these buildings, to a point where buildings are now consuming buildings consume almost 12 to 12.5 FSI, as you can see in some of the projects that we studied. And the fact that development over the years, development over the years has gone from being about the neighborhood down to just being about the plot, right? So the development of the city is really about the development of a building on a plot. And what we are trying to kind of see is that with these kind of protracted densities that we are building at, that the nature of development is about either land use, so it's a master plan, a city plan, or it's about the plot plan, the development of the building and its plan on that particular plot. There is no urban design component. What happens between the level of the entire city down to the level of the plot is in nobody's domain. So what essentially is happening today in Mumbai is that the interface that you have with the city, which used to be this earlier, where you would actually have the city, the street playing an important role in your association, now has completely changed to where this podium is the disconnection that you actually have with the city. You get into your car parking and take one of these rapid, these kind of aerial driveways and go to another tower where you work. So the city below this level is completely disconnected. I mean, so your experience of the city is no longer a factor. In fact, when developers advertise projects, they advertise projects with names like Miami, Paris, this is in Dadar and Wadala. In some sense, enhancing the fact that your disconnection of the city is its selling point. And the fact that finally with these 2050 maps that were released of Mumbai, that with global flooding, global water levels rising, about 75% of Mumbai would be flooded. What would the rule of development then be? So it's really this kind of plethora of, or this kind of matrix of questions that defines our current research project. In the second last project that I'm showing, this is a quote that I had from when I was a student. We did this one little exhibition where Astad Debu, who was one of India's finest contemporary dancers, performed at that exhibition. And he, as some of you who might know his work, he was beautiful. This entire exhibition space was kind of multi-level. He moved between these various levels, dancing through them poetically. It was fantastic to a point. Till the end of his performance, he kind of reached the other end of the room, and while we were kind of waiting for a very poetic and subtle end to this entire display of the dance, he then starts running across the room and somersaults and then finishes up in the middle. And we were all stunned as to that sudden change in demeanor, and we asked him that, and he said, the reason why I'm doing this is because what you see as dance in Bollywood, and other such mechanisms is not that it's not possible for me to do. It's that while I can do it, I choose not to do it because the set of values that one operates with is completely different. So it was an interesting way to kind of also frame the idea that while as architects today we have various tools, we have various ways that we can articulate form and form making, there is a need for us to also put into context what that particular formal idea actually does. In this one project that we worked on in the foothills of Himalayas in Manali, we were actually working with local construction technique to build a little resort where we worked with local materials, local waste materials, to create these additions to an existing building built out of local slate stone, where the construction system actually references construction systems that resist earthquakes. So the wood basically is a means to allow for those stone pieces to pop out during the movement during an earthquake, but that also kind of stabilizes the entire structure. And how the balconies that we added were looking north, built in local pine, framing the views. I'm just going to skip this bit. How the bathrooms actually become a kind of format of a traditional hammam, and how that really becomes a means for us to also make a kind of spectacle of the entire kind of process of filling up that bathtub. The last project that I'm talking about now is really about authorship, and it's one of the things that one has been less and less convinced about, that as architects we are authors of the project. It's just incredible that with the amount of people that work on a project, the consultants, the masons, the plumbers, that we can claim ownership. If anything, I feel that our role is more editorial than actually than one of an author. And in this one of my first projects that I ever did, this little small temple in Vadeshwar, we were building a temple for a group of villagers. We actually, while they wanted to build in stone, we were showing them images of this. While they wanted to build in concrete, we were showing these images of stone temples and how we could actually build like that. And while they said they didn't know how to do it, we really acted as facilitators, working with the image of the temple, working with traditional planning, but also working out how they could build the temple themselves. And this entire temple was built over 2.5 years because they would go back to tilling their fields whenever they had to go back to work, and in their spare time is when they actually built the temple. It's built out of local basalt. It's built through Shramdan, donation of labor. And it's because of that kind of process of the villagers building themselves, it also becomes a part of their sense of ownership. And yeah, it's as much a kind of religious project as much as it is a kind of social-cultural one. And some of the kind of symbolic elements become a part of the landscape because the trees really become like define the space as an external wall. And that's the kind of insides of that. The entire corbelled stone actually locks in with a metal skylight that brings natural light into the space. And I'm going to end with, since I said this was a reverse chronology, I'm going to end with what I really kind of started off doing when I was thinking about what I wanted to do after my 12th boards. There were 3 choices that one was investigating. The idea, I loved archaeology, I loved history, I was interested in cinematography, in filmmaking, and then of course architecture. And though I finally chose to do architecture, I think through the kind of realm of architecture, I've also been doing a little bit of the other 2 as well. Yeah, that's my story for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May we request to accept a memento from our end as a thank you, and may we have architect V.N. Ramachandran, the acclaimed architect himself, to come up on stage and present a memento as a thank you to the speaker. The questions he raised are all pertinent: sustainable development, making space, reactive urbanism, the city itself as a project are all some topical questions that do not perhaps guarantee absolute answers, but definitely prod us to seek further possibilities. The remark on the need to release ourselves from the confining forces of traditional patterns of thinking and letting the materials articulate in different modes are all definitely fodder for thought, food for thought. Thank you again, sir. And of course, architect Sameep Padora has agreed to let us borrow his time for a while, so he will be available for design narratives, conversations that are to happen at the Agora. So you're most welcome to meet him and voice out your concerns and queries and questions. And with this, we are almost ready to pull down the curtains on day 1 of MAF 2023. But not yet. I still have a few more pieces of information to convey. One, of course, we have the exhibition stalls beckoning you on the ground floor. So please do, I would encourage all of you to visit them. And the dining hall is again MFA 1. The food and dinner will be ready at 7 p.m. The fellowship dinner will be ready at 7 p.m. And that will be followed by an enthralling presentation performance from the much sought after band, the Thaikudum Bridge. So that is one performance you do not want to miss. And of course, we have workshops that are also almost ready to conclude. So if you have found a workshop of interest, this is the right time to go and immerse yourself in the experience. So do not miss the opportunity. The exhibition stalls, the workshop are all ready to welcome you. So please do go and visit them. And of course, this is only day 1 of the events. I believe Maya Angelou's words may be recalled in this process of summation. The horizon leans forward, offering you new space to place new steps of change. So we will push the horizon gently further tomorrow. The day 2 of MAF 2023 begins at 8:30 a.m. We hope with your interest and cooperation, we will be able to begin the session tomorrow on the dot. Hoping to see you all later tonight. The night is still young. Let's keep celebrating. Thank you.